Alright. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the late stream. Got caught up in things as usual. We have a new layout for when I don't have any particular thing to listen to and just want to play videos. I think it looks pretty cute. I don't really have anything planned tonight as far as videos to put on, but I watched a Defunct Land video last night that I thought was kind of funny. Let's see.
Leftover Submarine Quest toys could be found.
Quiet. Quiet, quiet, quiet. Let's see how loud this is. Let me turn that down just a little bit. But since you put something in, I'll put the song on. I'm getting my references up. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. Trying to find references of this one dude, and it is proving to be a bit difficult. I bet if I look up gameplay footage and then just screenshot it. There you go. Gotcha. I'm sorry, don't mind me. I'm slowly dying of allergies. And looking up refs. Alrighty. I think we're good. How's everyone tonight? I need you. Okay. Shh. Alright. I guess I could play some Dr. Devi for you guys since I'm like, oh, I want some DRG content. Well, he did post a new thing recently, so maybe.
On March 19, 2015, it was announced that Joel Manby would become the new CEO of SeaWorld Entertainment. Manby was previously the
Okay,
CEO
I'll put that
of
on then.
Herschend Enterprises, the largest family-owned amusement park company in the United
After this.
States. The charismatic Manby had a proven track record in the theme park industry, and was even somewhat of a public figure after appearing on the CBS reality show Undercover Boss. Manby faced a great challenge when he took the helm at SeaWorld. The corporation's portfolio consisted of 6 parks: Busch Gardens Williamsburg, Busch Gardens Tampa, Sesame Place in Pennsylvania, and 3 SeaWorld branded amusement parks.
It's
The
Edelus.
original, SeaWorld San Diego, which opened in 1964, SeaWorld Orlando, which opened in 1973, and SeaWorld San Antonio, which opened in 1988. It was no secret why the position of CEO was vacant, as for the past 2 years, SeaWorld had been in crisis mode. In 2013, the documentary Blackfish premiered. The film was a scathing look at the treatment of captive orcas, specifically those held and bred at SeaWorld amusement parks. By the end of 2013, the documentary was airing regularly on CNN, and activists, government officials, and the general public as a whole were putting overwhelming pressure on SeaWorld to end their signature orca program. Manby assumed the position of CEO at the height of this crisis. Up to this point, SeaWorld's main response to the outcry had been to attack the documentary, the filmmakers, and the interviewees, but this only made matters worse. So the company pivoted to improving the living conditions of its orcas. In August of 2014, SeaWorld had announced an initiative titled the Blue World Project, that if approved would almost double the size of the orca tanks at SeaWorld San Diego, and subsequently in San Antonio and Orlando. When Manby joined the company, this project was still awaiting approval by the California Coastal Commission, which had jurisdiction over construction projects in the California Coastal Zone, which included SeaWorld San Diego, which sits in San Diego's Mission Bay. Just over 6 months after Manby joined SeaWorld, the commission approved the Blue World Project, but only on the condition that SeaWorld stop breeding and transferring orcas, effectively forcing them to end their orca program entirely once the park's current orcas passed. SeaWorld planned to sue the Coastal Commission to have the conditions removed, but Manby was already taking SeaWorld in a new direction. The month after the commission's conditional approval, Manby held a conference call with investors in which he outlined a new vision for the company. Manby's plan was to shift focus away from animal shows and put resources into more traditional amusement park attractions with a nautical theme. In the call, Manby announced 3 new attractions, all themed after a single television show named Sea Rescue. Sea Rescue was a documentary series that followed a group of veterinarians and experts attempting to rescue and rehabilitate marine life. The first attraction based off of the show was a unique roller coaster named SeaWorld Rescue: The Ride, which would be constructed for SeaWorld San Antonio. Another was tentatively titled SeaWorld Rescue, and concept art depicted guests boarding a rescue truck and receiving unique views of an aquarium. This attraction was earmarked for SeaWorld Orlando. Finally, the third attraction would be a submarine ride named Ocean Explorer, to be built at SeaWorld San Diego. The Sea Rescue rides were multi-million-dollar attractions, and in order to pay for them, Manby explained that he was diverting money away from the Blue World Project. 4 months later, in March of 2016, Manby made the decision to end SeaWorld's orca breeding program. The following month, SeaWorld announced that the Blue World Project had officially been canceled, and as Manby had outlined, the money was instead invested in new attractions for SeaWorld's 3 parks. While the Sea Rescue truck ride for Orlando would be scrapped, SeaWorld San Antonio would receive its Sea Rescue attraction, a double-launch coaster now titled Wavebreaker: The Rescue Coaster. SeaWorld San Diego would also receive its submarine ride, but the company was now promising much more. In February of 2016, SeaWorld announced that a new 3-acre section, or a new realm as it was officially called, would be added to SeaWorld San Diego named Ocean Explorer. The children's area would feature aquariums, rides, and digital technologies, all focused on exploration and adventure, with a theme of ocean conservation. On top of some small flat-top rides, the area would feature a flagship attraction, named Submarine Quest. This was the realization of the attraction that Manby had announced months earlier in his conference call. The press release for the ride explained that, quote, guests would be adventurers on a global expedition of scientific exploration, traveling aboard submarines to see ocean explorers' remarkable undersea animals. Concept art of the area showed some of the marine life children would be able to interact with and torment incessantly with new creative glass placement. This concept art was either hastily made or sloppily made, or both, with some really poor compositing, as seen by the piece of concept art for Submarine Quest. While these seem to just be stock photos quickly placed inside a rendering of the submarine, the inclusion of this kid is perfect foreshadowing. Construction began in the summer of 2016, and the realm was scheduled to open in late spring of 2017. Ocean Explorer would be built just to the right of the park's entrance, on a relatively empty parcel next to one of the park's cafes. A flag display and a small animal viewing area would be removed to make way for the new realm. Concept art for the land was circulated as construction began, and it appeared that the area's signature attraction, despite the name Submarine Quest, would actually be an elevated dark ride with outdoor sections, similar to Disney's People Mover attraction and the high-in-the-sky Seuss trolley train ride at Universal Studios Islands of Adventure. Both of these attractions were gentle trips around their respective lands, providing guests a relaxing outdoor ride with some short dark ride portions. With Submarine Quest, it was assumed that these dark ride portions would be more elaborate, providing guests with special views of the new aquarium during their adventure. In a statement, SeaWorld assured the public that Submarine Quest would not be a shoot-'em-up style dark ride, even though no one considered that this was a possibility. Instead, the press release explained that by, quote, using digital touchscreens mounted in the ride vehicles, riders will play games and score points as they spot ocean creatures during the indoor and outdoor journey. The company launched a significant media campaign to coincide with the release of the new realm. SeaWorld San Diego published a video series on YouTube titled Meet the Deep, in which hosts Mike and Jenna chronicled the area and specifically Submarine Quest's development and construction. The Meet the Deep series is quite possibly the most in-depth documentation of a ride's construction by a theme park. The web series explores almost every aspect of construction. In the third episode, Mike and Jenna introduce Brian Morrow, Vice President of Theme Park Experience Design. Brian shows off the model ride vehicle for Submarine Quest and explains the interactive elements that were being installed in the ride, noting the touchscreen game that would be the attraction's signature feature. Days after this Meet the Deep episode was published, the final ride vehicle model was revealed at the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions Expo in 2016, and it was revealed in epic fashion. A trailer was also released during the expo with a new opening date of summer 2017.
Punch in your coordinates. Set a course for discovery. Dive into Ocean Explorer, a whole new realm at SeaWorld.
In January of 2017, a Meet the Deep episode was published in which Brian gave a tour of Chance Rides in Wichita, Kansas, which was the manufacturer for the attraction. They gave the first glimpse of the full-scale sub still in production, complete with lighting and the touchscreen game. The next episode featured Mike and Jenna actually playing this game. It was explained that the in-ride game would feature difficulty resistance, so that it was challenging for players of all ages. It was also revealed that there would be different levels of awards depending on how well the riders played. Also during this time, SeaWorld announced that a new roller coaster named Electric Eel would debut at SeaWorld San Diego in 2018. This coaster would be part of a Phase 2 expansion to the Ocean Explorer realm. Throughout the spring of 2017, as construction crews were putting the finishing touches on the new land, Meet the Deep walked the site multiple times. In April, SeaWorld held a ceremony to unveil the final submarine to park guests.
3, 2, 1.
The submarine remained on display as construction neared completion. Ocean Explorer and Submarine Quest had an impressive turnaround time. Despite being delayed from spring to summer of 2017, the new land was still set to debut just 16 months after being announced. No one seemed more excited for the land to open than those internally at SeaWorld. Executives and the ride's designers hoped that enthusiasm would spread to guests. Tempting fate, SeaWorld San Diego president John Riley said, quote, "Our guest response to new attractions has always been tremendously positive." On June 1st, 2017, Ocean Explorer held its grand opening ceremony. SeaWorld pulled out all of the stops for the event. There were ribbon wavers, confetti, flares, the eel from a discontinued ice show at Busch Gardens Tampa, and they even got a bubble guy. With the realm now open, dozens of guests who had waited minutes for the land's opening casually walked inside the new world of exploration, discovery, and conservation, by apparently immediately trampling the plants due to lack of fencing. Ocean Explorer featured 4 new kiddie rides: Sea Dragon Drop, the Octorock, Aqua Scout, and the most well-received, Tentacle Twirl. The aquariums throughout Ocean Explorer were quite small, but they did feature the unique viewing angles as promised. There was also an interactive attraction, the Skill Training Pod, as well as the Explorer's Cafe, whose signage choices were a bit confusing as everything else in the land is designed for small children, except for the craft beer apparently. The signature attraction was of course Submarine Quest. The ride vehicles could be seen as guests entered the land, making their way around the ride track. After hearing a year's worth of press describing the ride as an immersive and interactive experience, many guests were excited and curious about what the ride had in store. Guests entered the attraction through the outdoor queue, with television screens featuring a host named Sub-Commander Sparks, giving the ride's safety spiel, and introducing his companion, Link, the ride's star and the land's mascot.
That's Link, the ROV.
Remotely operated vehicle of exploration and research, or supercomputer of the sea.
Just Link will do.
A figure of Link could also be found at the realm's entrance. After entering the loading station, guests passed by a few simple art pieces and immediately boarded their subs. There were 7 subs, each with a special name,
Sorry.
with no clear direction or pattern. 2 of them are named after parts of a ship, axle and rudder. 1 of them is a fish with a first name, Macy Mackerel, and another is just a first name with a nautical adjective, Bubbly Bailey. As guests sat in their ride vehicle, Sub-Commander Sparks returned to instruct riders to pull down on their lap bar, before Link joined him for the voyage. Sub-Commander Sparks told riders to tap the screen in order to release the airlock, and guests began their expedition into the majesty of the deep, blue, blinding sunlight. After passing by trees and concrete, guests entered the first show scene of Submarine Quest, which was that of a deep-sea coral reef. This scene is supposed to be in the Twilight Zone, a zone that is so deep below the surface that sunlight cannot reach it. Of course, the ride represents this in broad daylight with 2 screens that briefly display an octopus.
Whoa, that octopus was totally camouflaged.
After the Twilight Zone was the Sunlight Zone, where guests saw eels.
Click faster.
Sub-Commander Sparks detects a large animal ahead, and guests begin a pursuit. Riders are able to see Link in front of them. This static figure featured a digital face that never quite synced up with the audio from the ride vehicle. The 2 decide to send out the Beacon Buddies on a mission.
Wow, look at this genuinely amazing experience that totally cannot be replicated.
Wait.
The Beacon Buddies find huge jellyfish and something even bigger ahead. As guests escape to the old sea pod to take a look, riders are instructed to open another hatch, despite the hatch always opening before the instruction audio is finished.
Press the blue button to open the hatch.
The sub then enters a sea pod full of screens that display a giant CGI squid. After a brief stop in the sea pod, riders open the escape hatch and re-enter the ocean, just as the squid breaks the glass on the sea pod and releases ink. As guests exit the pod, water sprays at riders. The water effect was incredibly inconsistent, and it is not clear whether the water was triggered by a game mechanism and only appeared sometimes, or if it was simply an unreliable effect. It was shot from the left of the ride vehicles, and instead of giving all of the riders a light mist, it just hosed the rider in the front left seat. After this scene, the subs take a final turn back into the loading station. During this short segment, guests found out what type of explorer they were. There were 3 options: Junior Explorer, Super Explorer, and Master Explorer, even though in playtesting Mike scored Marine Veterinarian, which did not seem to be an option that made it into the final game. Guests then re-entered the loading station and exited their vehicles. Incredibly, Submarine Quest was not a hit with guests, and this is putting it lightly. In general, guests were shocked to find out that Submarine Quest was neither sub nor marine, as it took place 15 feet above the ground in the open air. The outdoor show scenes were sparse, and the one dark ride scene was a disappointment. The ride did look better at night, as there was at least a chance of the illusion of being in the deep ocean, but sunset in the summer in San Diego is around 8 p.m., and most nights, SeaWorld closed at 9. The
I'm
creative
sorry.
decisions made for the ride were quite confusing. Many guests speculated that the
I started pretty recently. You didn't miss much. Like I started Well, ain't no way it's already been an hour. Yeah, it's been like 20 minutes. Got caught up in a conversation. Did our finding mission, took an hour. Oh my god, girl, I didn't tell you the fucking... You've been streaming for 3 days. So I was doing like a solo deep scan. Has 3 with 2 has markers on it because I wanted to get an extra script for season 5 because the core stones aren't giving it to me anymore. And it was Exploder Infestation and Swarmageddon. And I was like, well, I hate those 2 things, but it's fine, I can do it. I was stuck on that mission for 2 hours because I could not for the life of me find the last crystal. It was in the wall between 2 different tunnel sections. And like that's why it took me forever. And like the 2 tunnels are at slightly different heights. So I'm like, where the fuck is this crystal at? Yeah, I got through the mission. I got through the mission, but oh my god, I was like really tempted to quit a couple times. I'm just like, I'm slowly running out of ammo. I don't know if I'll have enough nitra to finish this. I can't find this fucking crystal. And the funny thing is too, there was a core stone event as well, and I'm like, I might as well for the extra XP. All that, and I didn't even go up 1 level on the battle pass. I'm so mad. What the hell? And then I did 1 refinery by myself as driller, which that was fine. I think the game was apologizing to me for what they did in the last mission because they gave me a Crassus at the start, the gold bulks, the gold explodies, and a cargo crate. I got something for Gunner, so that was cool. But like, fuck. The shit telling me to egg hunt in a Swarmageddon and radioactive. I started doing the weekly, and the second mission is caretaker, and so I took that as a sign to quit for the day. So yeah, fun. I'm still hiding out in season 5, but I'm thinking about maybe switching to season 2 for a little bit, to get some of the cosmetics in that season. And it's the all blue season, so you know. But that's the season that has the specialized pickaxe that has it has like a 0.5% chance of machine events to pop up, which is what I want right now. So, you know, I was trying to see as far, like how far I could get in season 5 to match with my PC file. But I mean, it kind of takes forever when you're just playing by yourself. Is season 2 the one you hate? No, it's season 3 and 4. Now, I haven't touched season 2 yet. I finished season 4, thankfully, on my console file. I played a little bit of it on my PC file, just enough to get a certain armor skin that I like. But man, I'm not looking forward to going back to that. I need to finish season 3 on my console file. I got to level 40 for an armor skin and then just said nope. I'm technically not done with season 4 because there's some things in the cosmetic tree that I need to get. But in order to get any more script, because I finished the battle pass, I have to play missions that have the plague in them. And I don't want to do that. Those missions can go from 0 to 100 on difficulty real fast if you're not careful. Yeah, happy to help you with them. Yeah, like whenever we are finished with season 5 on PC, I guess I'll switch to season 4 and try and get that grinded out. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, once my controller gets here, I'll be able to consistently play on I'll be able to consistently play on Has 3 more because I'll have like my full reflexes. Fat Dwarf Summer. Yeah. I was telling Severin because I started maining a polar bear in my one fighting game, and then I was excited for Werehog and Crossworlds at one point, but no, I don't think I did tell him that. I was like, yeah, lean green spring is over. It's time for big boy summer.
The ride had its budget cut late in development, which
Anyway.
could be possible, but concept art for the land did display the ride almost exactly as it was built. Supposedly, the initial plans called for the ride track to be longer and mostly enclosed in a tube. However, it seemed that a significant portion of the budget was put into research and development for the unique ride vehicle rather than putting that money towards show scenes. The designers clearly took a lot of pride in their work, and it seems as though this part of the experience was built more or less from the ground up, which is theoretically impressive. However, in practice, all that is noticeable is the inherent and consistent flaws in the mechanics of the game, most obvious in the confusion during the Beacon Buddies section, which was present all the way back during playtesting.
Tap the screen to deploy the Beacon Buddies.
Other criticisms included the screens being difficult to see in the sunlight and that the voice of Link was obnoxious. To add insult to injury, the entire realm had a branding problem, as seemingly everyone believed that Ocean Explorer was the name of the ride and not the name of the realm.
What the heck is this Ocean Explorer ride car? So, Ocean Explorer is actually the name of the whole land.
Until 2 days after the ride's debut, the San Diego Union Tribune released a scathing review of the ride, saying,
Ah, yes, he found my new sound alert. That's for Sarah if Severin gets too weird in chat per request, or anyone for that matter, but you know. There's a couple that I need to add still, but she's been requesting that one for a while, so I'm like, yeah, I can put that in. Get bonked. Let's see. No, I can't scroll. That's sad. Oh well. Yeah, you'll see him. You'll see him.
saying, quote, "The biggest disappointment is the heavily promoted sub."
What am I working on? This is a different thumbnail commission that I'm doing. I have yours and this other guy's that I'm doing. But I cannot find consistent references for this guy, and it's a bit irritating. So I have a different commission up in case I want to change my mind and switch.
You have lost your fruit privileges. You are now banned from my stand.
Hell yeah. Wait, what? Why is that doing that? Get out of here.
Submarine Quest. SeaWorld is touting it as a high-tech trip through the ocean ecosystem, but it turns out to be a slow-moving track ride past a few animated animals on video screens. Brady McDonald of the Orlando Sentinel said, quote, "The new land centerpiece ride is basically a slow-moving transportation system that doesn't take you anywhere and encourages you to ignore your surroundings." On August 8, 2017, during SeaWorld's Q2 earnings call, Manby stated that Ocean Explorer had been a disappointment. He said, quote, "I think the one thing that I'm not satisfied
Just gotta
with
tell
is
myself
Ocean
it doesn't
Explorer.
gotta be
We did
that
not market this
detailed.
as well as I wanted to.
Just get it
It's
done.
completely designed for young children, and we need to make sure that's the case." A sign was quickly placed outside the attraction clarifying that the ride was intended for smaller guests, despite initial marketing claiming it was for all ages.
Yeah, I think I said this when you got here, but in case not, I said at the beginning, yeah, I got a new layout. That's right, I showed you on Discord.
However, poor marketing and bad reviews would not be Submarine Quest's only problems, as technical issues plagued the attraction as well. The ride often had a significant wait, as only 2 to 3 subs were run at a time, rather than the 7 the ride was capable of. This
Yeah,
was only a
Magnite's always
problem when the ride
scarce.
was operating, which it frequently was not. Throughout the ride's debut summer, Submarine Quest was constantly closed for maintenance. By September, frequent guests noticed that the ride was barely ever open. One visitor noted that they had been 4 times since the ride's debut, and the attraction had been closed all 4 times. The ride operated intermittently throughout the summer of 2017, but was closed for most of the fall. It did reopen in December, and on December 30th, 2017, during the busy winter holiday, it accumulated a 130-minute wait time, baffling those that had already ridden the attraction. This was one of the last
Once
days of
my
operation for
USB splitter
Submarine
gets
Quest.
here, I can
It is
have my
unclear if the
mouse
ride
and
operated
tablet
in
hooked up
early
at the same
January
time, so
or
I can
when the
actually
true
scroll
final
through
day
my
of operation
menus.
was. But by mid-January 2018, a mere 7 months after opening, the doors to Submarine Quest were blocked off, leaving guests speculating on the future of the ride. On
It was a
February 28,
business
2018,
expanse.
SeaWorld CEO Joel Manby resigned from his position at the company after less than 3 years as the chief executive. Falling attendance and steep quarterly losses were cited as the main reason for
This
Manby's
radioactive
exit, but
bitch
multiple
wants 8
publications
eggs.
were quick to
Kiss
mention
my
the recent
ass.
failure of the Submarine Quest attraction. While clearly not the main reason for his departure, the Realm's failure could have been a contributing factor. Just 4 days later, it was announced that Chief Creative Officer Anthony Esparza and Vice President of Theme Park Experience Design, Brian Morrow, were resigning from their roles as well. Many online again wondered if the resignations were related to the poor reception of the Ocean Explorer realm, but this is merely speculation. Other rumors circulated attempting to make sense of the ride's closure. Some believe that an injury had occurred on the ride or that SeaWorld was suing either the designers or the manufacturers over technical issues. Currently, there is no evidence to support these claims. Without explanation, Submarine Quest remained closed throughout the spring of 2018. In May, the San Diego Union Tribune ran a piece on the attraction. SeaWorld San Diego's official statement on the ride was,
You
quote,
right now.
"As we've conveyed to our park guests who've asked, the Submarine Quest ride at Ocean Explorer is currently undergoing maintenance. As soon as there is additional information, we will communicate that to you and our guests." Theme park consultant Dennis Spiegel believed that the maintenance issues were not so severe that the ride needed to be shut down, but rather the public's response to the ride was so overwhelmingly negative that it was best to keep it closed. Despite the open-ended response on the ride's
Man, I gotta go to
status,
TikTok
SeaWorld
to get these
removed all mention
references.
of the ride from the park's website. The attraction's name was soon removed from the park's maps as well, with the illustration being modified to remove the ride cars. On May 10, 2018, Electric Eel debuted at SeaWorld San Diego. Billed as an addition to the Ocean Explorer area despite being fairly disconnected from it geographically.
When
The short
Sprite
coaster
can
was
scroll,
received
she'll be
well, and it
unstoppable.
effectively distracted guests from Submarine Quest's continued closure.
Hell yeah.
In the summer of 2018, leftover Submarine Quest toys could be found at SeaWorld Orlando and Busch Gardens Tampa, despite the ride remaining closed and also being on the other side of the country. On July 2nd, 2018, Legoland
Wednesday,
California,
my
a theme park
dudes.
just 30 miles north of
My
SeaWorld
stuff will
San
be here
Diego,
Wednesday.
debuted their own submarine ride, named Lego City Deep Sea Adventure. The attraction actually placed guests under the water to view real sea creatures, which also featured more story and more show scenes. With a longer ride time and an actual feeling of discovery and exploration, Lego's Submarine Ride was everything the guests wanted and expected from Submarine Quest, and audiences were quick to notice the juxtaposition. In
No
October of
perks in
2018,
default mode.
16
Oh
months
no,
after
is it
its
because
opening
you
and 10 months after its closure,
loaded a
the
different
sign
slot for
Submarine
your
Quest was taken down. The ride
cosmetic
sat dormant for
that
over
you
a
just
year
got?
while the rest of Ocean Explorer continued to operate.
You gotta be
On
careful
March
about that.
16th, 2020, SeaWorld announced the closure
You can
of all its
copy
theme parks
paste
due to the
loadouts,
COVID-19 pandemic.
which is
SeaWorld
really
San
helpful
Diego
if
was
you
the
don't
last
remember
of the
like
SeaWorld parks to reopen, not
what
opening
you
its
had
gates
equipped
until
to your
April 12th,
weapons.
2021. When it did, it was
Just
revealed
copy
that
paste.
work walls had been constructed around Submarine Quest. One guest noted that about 20% of the ride track has been removed.
See, I gotta get that
including the
DLC
building
for
the
my
ride's only
console
dark ride
file.
portion, confirming that Submarine Quest is now officially defunct. Submarine Quest is a perplexing story. Most tales of ride failures have an obvious contributing factor, such as a budget cut, a mechanical flaw, a rush to market,
And
or a
then
world-shattering
debate if I
news
wanna
event
get
that suddenly
Skull
makes the
Crusher as
initial
well for
concept
PC.
taboo halfway through development. However,
Or if I wanna
Submarine
wait.
Quest did not have an obvious hurdle. While budget, time constraints, and mechanics certainly could have contributed to the attraction's failure, based on available information, it
Yeah, I
seems
did that
just as
too,
likely that it was simply a bad idea
when
with
I was
bad
playing Gunner to
execution.
try to get
The
his
design
stuff
team clearly put a lot of
leveled
energy
up,
and thought into the attraction,
and
but
I
in
had
all of the
2
wrong
weapons that I
areas, and the
barely
heavy marketing
touched.
efforts and enthusiasm from SeaWorld staff
And I
could not
died.
distract from the ride's glaring and overwhelming creative failures. Submarine Quest is not only a result of the precarious position SeaWorld was in at the time of its construction, it's also a perfect representation of it. Submarine Quest, like SeaWorld, had a huge identity problem. It did not know what it should be, and it certainly did not know what audiences wanted from it. As SeaWorld continues to rebrand and evolve, the company can only hope that their parks as a whole meet a different fate than that of Submarine Quest.
What is this?
It's the greatest dark ride in the world.
What is this? Okay, oh yeah, shit, I forgot I can't scroll, so, Severn, can you repost that link for me? Actually, wait, can I use the... Nope, that just does that. Oh wait, hold on. Damn it! Let me use my arrow keys. You suck. I better click that before I, there we go. Boop. Well, that just covers up most of the chat. And that's no good.
I've always wanted to cover the Silent Hill games on my channel, but I always thought that the quick cuts and highly edited comedy vibe of most of my content wouldn't really do the mood and atmosphere of this series justice. I like to set a vibe similar to that of the games I'm covering in my videos, so in this instance we're going to take a more laid-back approach to the analysis of the iconic 1999 horror classic Silent Hill, directed and written by Keiichiro Toyama. Spoilers for the whole game will follow. Let's get to it.
I think everyone here has played this by now.
Before we reach the title screen, there's a short opening music video that establishes the tone of the game amazingly well, with a combination of menacing folksy strings at the start and chill rocking guitars later on, setting an eerie yet adventurous vibe for the game to follow.
Eventually I gotta show you the cool aesthetic on-screen chat thing I used to use. Yeah.
It's hard to describe how it both makes the title feel extremely classy, yet somehow epic at the same time. It's fair to say not many games up to this point had such a classy intro. What's a little bit confusing though is that while this may seem like a skippable sizzle reel of the events to follow in the title, the shots of Harry Mason, the protagonist, with his daughter driving, Sybil the policewoman following behind, or Harry crashing his car due to an apparition, aren't actually shown after starting a new file. You'll be booted straight to the aftermath after hitting start. A bit of an odd choice since it runs the risk of letting the player skip this information, but honestly, I kinda like it. The music video
Gotta play more
sets off
Silent
the
Hill,
inciting
yeah, me
incident of
too.
the game in a quite snazzy, slick way.
I was just
and
talking about
quickly, as opposed to
revisiting
having some
the sequel.
generic, slow-paced clip of Harry
The second
driving
one,
down
that
the
is.
road to slowly open the game. Instead, we get straight
But
to the
there's a lot
point.
of games I
So
need to
Harry
get to.
crashes his car, his daughter Cheryl is gone, and so begins his dangerous search for her throughout the town of Silent Hill.
Cheryl? Is that Cheryl?
I think it would be remiss of me not to bring up, first and foremost, the elements of Silent Hill that are clearly derived from the earlier horror pioneer, Resident Evil. Resident Evil was a clear attempt to gamify a horror story, translating the trials and worries of someone in a horrific survival situation into various mechanics. Silent Hill takes those gamified elements but simplifies them down pretty much as it can. You still navigate a series of maze-like environments with spooky enemies lurking about, but everything else is shaved of its edges. You find collectibles like weapons, ammo, healing items, and objects for puzzles, but unlike Resi, you have unlimited inventory space. The healing items you collect as a result all come fully formed. There's no combining items to create new better types or to save space in your pockets. You need to collect maps of areas, but in Silent Hill, Harry will fill in notes about pretty much everything he encounters, so you never have to remember all that much yourself. You need to find special locations to save, but they don't require limited items to use like in Resi. You can save as many times as you like. As far as lifting restrictions go, Harry is also way more mobile than a Resi character. He can move while shooting, strafe from side to side, hop backwards, and even quick turn 180 degrees, a few months before Resident Evil 3 introduced it into that series. On a gameplay level, this all makes for a much easier game than Resident Evil, and one that requires a lot less decision making. Unlimited inventory removes the thinking and strategy you might have had to implement in Resi when leaving certain things in item boxes before making a move on the level. You have more movement options than Resi, but the enemies aren't exactly that different from that game, and don't really have any extra abilities to compensate for Harry's higher mobility, aside from them perhaps on average being a little faster. so it's not that hard to deal with most of them compared to how you might have to strategically position yourself in Resi. I know when I play Silent Hill, I usually just dart off to my next destination without thinking or considering the approach that much. When I'm looking to play a horror game to enjoy the gameplay rhythms, usually I'll stick in a Resident Evil, but Silent Hill is the one I prefer when I want to take a more laid-back approach and soak up the atmosphere and story of an interesting world.
If you're careful, I think you can do it.
To facilitate a more narrative-focused experience is probably why the Resi formula was used, but simplified to such a degree. Levels in Silent Hill
It's
can
only
also get a
4,
lot
you
more
can speedrun
abstract,
it.
and the puzzles more complicated than Resident Evil, so it also stands to reason that deciphering Silent Hill amidst a barrage of other worries like inventory space and limited save files
Yeah, good
could
luck,
probably
good luck.
make the experience considerably frustrating. The one thing Silent Hill doesn't take at all from Resident Evil though is the fixed pre-rendered backgrounds, instead choosing to render its world with real-time 3D graphics, allowing the camera to move around however it pleases rather than staying stationary, to pull off amazing stylish tricks like this.
Yeah, the wacky ass
The camera
camera
angles
angle.
in Silent Hill get very creative and daring, and some
Oh,
of them seem
going
like they were
scout.
pulled straight from a game
I
that
would
just came
be
out.
extremely
They're
careful.
crazy to see being used so confidently in 1999. But of course, Harry is never forced to slowly walk through any cinematic moments.
He's the most fragile.
Player, like a lot
I
of
would
newer
say
games
he's
today. Things get really creative
you can
here
struggle if you don't know what you're
visually,
doing.
and Resident Evil, the best you could hope for at the time is a simple pan across a large JPEG. Fully 3D visuals also permit the game to have a camera the player can actually control
He's a
themselves.
soft boy.
Since Silent Hill is a 90s horror title,
I mean, I've
you may
seen
be led
people
to
who
believe the
can
game only has fixed camera angles.
be crazy
And
with
while
them,
the
but you
title
know.
does transition to fixed angles at times to
Be careful.
emphasize certain things or to create a visual mood, within most of the gameplay, the player can freely control it left or right by holding down L2. Some scenes present themselves with a fixed view but can be broken out of by the player. This approach of having a free camera in some
It's okay, I'm
sections
still
and not
Pendleton.
others is of course a system used by a lot of games to this day, so I think it's misguided to cast Silent Hill in any sort of antiquated light. Even now it feels incredibly ahead of its time. After emerging from the wreckage, Harry tries tracking down his daughter only to get quickly overwhelmed by monsters and then waking up in a diner where he meets Sybil Bennett, who is confused as to why the town is deserted and why all this freaky stuff is going down. Not that the game does this that much after this, but I like the touch of an enemy crashing through the window here in what appears to be a safe room. If you've played Resident Evil at the time, you've probably grown to associate a save point with a safe area. So even though the game doesn't subvert this trope much again, I was an edge in all the save rooms for the rest of the title, even in areas no enemies actually enter. Harry decides to head back to the alleyway he got demolished in from the start of the game, and this is where we get to start roaming.
Whoa, sorry. When I go to pause, it's like, oh, did you mean you wanted to speed it up? I get dropped in and hear them ASAP. Oh no. I was just pausing for a minute because I've been thinking about Escape from Bug Island here and there. That's a horror game that's exclusive to the Wii. And, well, needless to say, if you have bug phobia, don't play it. Because, oh man, they feel realistic in that game, the way they move. But I wonder if there's like a retrospective video on it somewhere. I would like to listen to that. Keep getting snatched? No.
Silent Hill. Much praise has already been heaped on Silent Hill for avoiding having to show objects in the distance pop into existence because of the PS1's low draw distance by clouding the streets in fog, but what I think is more interesting is that it creates one of the few open areas in a video game that manages to be claustrophobic despite still being an open space. You feel boxed in and at the mercy of monsters in the street. Team Silent definitely struck gold with this simple move. A note found in the alley, supposedly left by Cheryl, tells Harry to go to the school, so of course off we go. The roads that would easily lead Harry there are blocked off though, another note pushing us in the direction of a house with a back door locked by 3 keys, a map there showing us their location in the town. Spending time in the streets of Silent Hill feels eerie and uncomfortable, as it should, but running across its long roads can get a bit repetitive, so it's good that this introductory fetch quest is basically the longest contiguous time we spend out there. This gets the most out of the cool, unnerving effect the streets have on the player before moving into more self-contained interior levels. The school, finally accessible beyond the 3 locks, being the first major one.
Hey,
At the
good
start of
job.
the school, 3 riddles can be found written down in the reception, each one pretty evidently referencing a different type of classroom in the building, which needs to be visited to access an opening in the courtyard. This becomes evident upon examining that entrance, as the time on the clock outside will be the same as the one written on the next riddle that needs to be solved. This is pretty cool, as for the first main level in Silent Hill, you get a sort of series of objectives to go and complete, rather than the stumbling into random rooms looking for items kind of approach the title will adopt after this. You look at the riddle, figure out what room in the building it obviously correlates to, and then you look it up on your map and head there. This first section could have included twice as many empty classrooms to place as red herrings, and it probably would have been just as satisfying to solve thanks to this setup. One
Oh
of these
yeah,
riddles will lead you
you.
to the music room where the somewhat infamous Silent Hill piano puzzle is found. I felt like now was a good time to play through Silent Hill again for this video, since it's been so long since my last playthrough that I've forgotten most of the game's puzzles and layouts,
Fall to
but
your
I was
death,
surprised
no.
at how little trouble this puzzle gave me. You read a poem about some birds and then have to figure out what keys to press on the piano to get an item. There are 5 birds and 5 keys that make a clicking sound when pressed, and once you figure out that of course some of these birds are white and some of them are black, the rest of the riddle falls into place. I think the only reason this puzzle sticks out is that the other 2 riddles send you to a room where you just pour some liquid on a hand and press a button respectively, so the disparity in complexity between the piano and the rest might catch some players off guard. After these 3 mini tasks are complete, shit gets rusty, all doors are locked goes into effect, and the school is thrust into a corrupted
Shit gets
form.
rusty.
I think at this stage it's worth pointing out just what a high bar Silent Hill sets for its detail. A lot
Oh
of horror
no.
games at the time probably would have been happy to make a school, turn off the lights and throw some monsters in there, but halfway through this level, Silent Hill flips the script and recoats the entire place with a new look that's twice as disturbing, with all sorts of new horrific imagery littering every corner. Even
Yeah,
though it's the
rusty
same
ass
map,
Silent
visually
Hill.
it's a complete overhaul, and all these new renditions probably could have been reordered and implemented into a separate level if the developers wanted to. But instead, they deliberately made it a warped version of the existing level to play with your expectations based off the parts you just explored, and to bring in the story idea of the world being corrupted by a supernatural force. This level of detail extends further though. There seems to be a real effort with Silent Hill to push things just that little bit further than what's expected. At this point, it's only been 3 years since Resident Evil made horror games mainstream, and Silent Hill is already playing around with what to expect, like delaying a jump scare until after you think the coast is clear.
An empty locker. Ah,
Harry, the
Jesus.
playable character even, is also littered with extra detail. It's just taking it that extra step. When running and colliding with a wall, he'll put his hands up in front of himself before hitting it. When sprinting into a door and pressing enter to go in, this can almost give the impression Harry is running into the door and pushing it open. After jogging for a while, he can be seen panting, and there's even a dedicated animation for him falling a couple feet by accident. In a relatively short game like Silent Hill, this stuff adds up and makes the title feel dense with content, and of course we're drawn into Harry and his plight a lot more with these subtle touches. Overall, he's a really endearing protagonist. You could totally see a dedicated father like him facing down the Hellspawn forces to find his child. Once Harry collects an assortment of items and keys in each room and finds a roundabout way down into the boiler room, we get a quick boss. In terms of potential design opportunities, I'd say boss battles in horror games fare a lot better when precise manual aiming is an option, something we don't get to see made use of here. There weren't that many boss encounters in games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, and that's because while limited combat options work when trying to navigate an environment with weaker enemies littering the halls, they don't work as well in one continuous battle against a tough foe. While it can test the player's quick reflexes in boss fights to aim at weak points with more precise lock-on, or the option for accurate manual aiming with fast movement and quick tool switching on the fly, in say, Ocarina of Time for example, and thus those mechanics throughout the game can be expanded upon, there's not many ways you can make these fights more complex the way Silent Hill handles things than just getting a bigger boss in the room next time with more health and deadlier attacks. When you confront a regular enemy in the world in a title like Resident Evil or Silent Hill, you already kinda probably know if you're gonna win or lose. You know if you've got enough ammo and health to do it. The game's challenge is the initial decision of whether or not to engage at all, and how those decisions add up over time as you explore a level. What shape is your character going to be in based on past choices when he hurdles into some foes later on that perhaps he can't circumvent? As a result though, even simplistic bosses are important here. One reason the decision to engage with regular enemies or not needs to be considered is because you might want those resources you could use to fight that enemy for later to dump them into a big boss enemy. So while engaging with the boss as an isolated fight may not be that compelling on its own, taken as part of the survival horror experience as a whole, it's an important cog in the game's grand design. Once the first boss is defeated, the school returns to normal and the sound of a bell beckons Harry to a nearby church, where he meets Dahlia, a weird spiritual woman who offers Harry some items he needs to progress and directs him towards the hospital. At this stage, I can only assume that somehow Dahlia became aware of our exploits in decorrupting the school, and impressed, summoned us here to do some more ghost busting, which I guess is a fair enough way to get us to our next level. At the start of the hospital, we meet Dr. Kaufman, who seems to be just trying to survive whatever is going on like us. After getting a generator back online and trying and failing to enter the higher floors, a mysterious 4th floor appears on the lift, and we're taken to the corrupted form of the hospital. I like how Silent Hill works on far more supernatural rules than, say, a Resident Evil. It makes for profoundly eerie moments like this one. The hospital level is a nice bit of chunky exploration and puzzle solving. It's hard to get lost completely as long as you're exploring each room, interacting with everything there, and then going to the next one. The path forward this time is blocked by the need to find 4 special blocks, which makes for a clear enough objective to keep track of. It's always satisfying seeing all these pieces come together as you slowly clear out the hell-like location you're in and have everything fall into place little by little. If there's one thing that Silent Hill goes perhaps too far on, it's the amount of enemies present. If the game isn't going to provide the depth and strategy of, say, item management like Resident Evil does, and you have the ease of always having all possible ammo and health items you've collected on you at all times, then having so many of the same enemies litter the hallways can become more tedious than exciting and challenging at some point. Especially in the school, once you've got over the shock and are doing the last few rounds for the last few collectibles, I started becoming a little numb to the same creatures lunging at me by the end. Perhaps it would have been worth holding back a bit in this regard with less enemies and less resources to match. To counter that little critique, it's probably a good time to pay my respects to the absolutely amazing atmosphere afforded to the game by Akira Yamaoka's industrial soundtrack. The feeling of being stuck in these rusty, dark corridors with
oh
Yamaoka's
yeah,
washing
rusty
machines
meat
going nuts
noises
in the background is just absolutely crushing. And when the game transitions into more mellow tracks, there's a great juxtaposition between the harshness of the enemy encounters and the emotional nature of the story. The way the game can go from calm to intense makes for an exciting ride filled with peaks and valleys that can catch you off guard. Just as you're used to some quiet time, the game can hit you with startling and oppressive agitation before it catches you off guard again with a more subdued moment. It's great. And of course, dead silence can be just as unsettling as loud, off-putting music. Throughout the hospital, we stumble upon a photo which seems to indicate a girl we've been seeing flashes of so far is named Alessa, and at the end of the hospital we meet a nurse by the name of Lisa. She also just seems to be trying to survive the current situation, but not much can be discussed before the corrupted world dissipates and we're back to normal, where Dahlia appears again and instructs Harry with another objective. Now, I guess, entrusting him entirely to the task of stopping the darkness the town is shrouded in from continuing by directing him to an antique shop. At the antique shop, we run into Sybil again, and unfortunately here begins the biggest and most drawn-out info dump of Silent Hill. There's a few scenes here piled up back to back, and while there's some info to be garnered for sure, Sybil says she saw Cheryl heading towards the lake ghost style. She explains there's some kind of drug trafficking case going down in Silent Hill.
must be on drugs.
Harry then has a telepathic chat with Lisa, who talks about how there was a cult or something in the town, and that Dahlia's daughter supposedly died in a fire. It all feels like it could have been spread a little better across the rest of the title, rather than just in this 10-minute chunk of jam on the side of your toast. Loading each audio file individually, causing these huge gaps between lines, is also a bit of a pain.
Never mind.
Harry, you're tired.
Yeah, maybe.
Harry needs to get back to the hospital at this point, but the only way there is through the town center, where he has to take out a slugworm boss. It's worth making note that at this point, Silent Hill doesn't feature any more big levels like the school or hospital until the final area right at the end, which is a bit puzzling as far as pacing goes. It's not a big deal, but a 4th level perhaps fleshing out some more backstory might have made a little more sense to put here. Instead, we're about to enter some linear sewer stages. Harry makes it back to the hospital, Lisa tells us of a shortcut to make it to the lake area, and then we head outside and dispel some more corruption by killing
Hey,
the second form of
Jaboots.
that worm
Nice.
cocoon guy. Not a very complex fight, but visually it's pretty cool. Being on the roof trying to take
It might
out
be
this
better
hell
putting
creature
this
in
guy
pitch
over here.
darkness is a pretty neat visual. After this, the game took me completely off guard by warping me back to the school after crossing the bridge, skipping Harry's trek over there. The game does a similar thing later on, and I don't really mind, to be honest. At least the devs are owning up to the fact they didn't really include anything worth seeing on the walk back to the school, so they might as well let you skip it. The sewers have a dark, cool atmosphere, and in any other game they might be considered kinda spooky, but compared to the Rust Hospital, it's pretty tame at this point. Thankfully, it doesn't drag on for too long. After getting out of the sewers, the player can head straight to the pier, where we run into Sybil and Dahlia again. Dahlia this time inferring the quote-unquote demon, who is corrupting the town, has taken the form of that girl Alessa, instructing Harry now, once more, to go do the dirty work and take her out in the lighthouse. After a quick jaunt down there though, Harry I guess doesn't get there in time, so it's off to find Sybil, who went to the amusement park. Another quick sewer level takes place in between, which, much like running down the pier, is just a bit of a mindless jog through enemy lines that doesn't do all that much for me compared to the exploration of previous levels. Thankfully, after a fight with a corrupted Sybil, we're about to get our final big level, Nowhere. The amusement park's layout where we find Sybil is extremely disconcerting and awkward to navigate, but I think it does a good job at this late stage to show how the world around Harry is falling apart by making you stagger through a pretty daunting area. A lot of games wouldn't take the risk to dump you in such an abstract location and let you fend for yourself until you run into the next objective. To offset this, there aren't many enemies here, which is probably a good choice. After the Sybil fight, Harry subdues Alessa, and then Dahlia shows up, reveals she's her mother, and takes her away, at which point we're transported into the dreamlike, completely abstract area of Nowhere. Nowhere is a completely nonsensical set of rooms that overlap and don't add up to a definable structure. A door on the second floor opens to one on the first, so as a result there's no map. The map function in Silent Hill can feel like a bit of a safety blanket at times because it pauses the game, and the player can get it out at any second to orientate themselves with zero hassle, so having the final area take that away and force them to remember and pass out the environment in their head is a good final challenge to round things off with. Nowhere recycles a few past rooms, but the idea of a level that seems to be feeding into Alessa's memories to create the world is handy.
I
so
could
we get
use
to
that
places
helmet.
we wouldn't be able to, like her now destroyed bedroom and house. Lisa shows up in Nowhere, and she turns out to actually be a corrupted monster this whole time. I never found myself that attached to Lisa, but seeing her beg Harry for help as she starts bleeding uncontrollably is quite a haunting sequence, and is directed leagues better than a lot of other games would have done at the time.
Lisa?
Once the player collects a few more items and stumbles into flashbacks of Alessa being used by her mother for some kind of impregnation ritual, and things not going according to plan, and her soul getting split, we're confronted with the endgame. Now that Dahlia has Alessa under her control because of Harry's work, she intends to use her to summon her god proper, which didn't work before because Alessa's soul was split 7 years ago, likely the missing part of her soul being Cheryl, Harry's non-biological daughter, which is an added bit of family history you can get earlier on in the game. At this point, various things can occur depending on a few conditions met throughout the title. After exiting the first sewer, but before meeting Sybil at the pier, Harry can complete an additional side quest in which you bum around the resort area of Silent Hill for a bit. If you enter a certain bar, you can save Kaufman from an attack, follow some of the clues he leaves behind, stumbling over a bit more of that drug subplot as you go, and then eventually find red liquid in a bottle that Kaufman shows up and nabs off you.
You shouldn't be hanging around here goofing off.
If you did that part, Kaufman will appear at the end here, dousing Alessa in that liquid, exorcising the demon in her. If you don't take this step, Harry will have to kill Alessa for the final boss instead. Fighting the demon independent from her though means that she gives him a baby, which I infer as her being able to reincarnate into someone new, so that with Harry she can hopefully go on to live a more normal and happy life, away from the cult who did such horrible things to her. It's bittersweet, but I think it works out nicely. It subverts Harry getting exactly what he wanted, like saving Cheryl, and we can't undo the horrible things that happened to Alessa, but perhaps the slate can be wiped clean so at least one young lady gets to live a normal life. The player also has the chance to save Sybil and not kill her in her boss fight by using the same liquid Kaufman throws on Alessa, a small sample of which can be found early on in the hospital. Figuring out how to achieve the best ending here might seem a little obtuse, but after you beat Silent Hill you'll get told what ending you got, so it's fair to assume to get a better ending, you should inspect the world a little better, which would probably lead an inquisitive type to stumble upon Kaufman's side quests the next go around. It's also not out of the question that once seeing Kaufman exorcise a demon out of Alessa, that the player could do the same with Sybil in another playthrough. How Harry in the context of the game would know how to do this before seeing Kaufman do that though is beyond me. Perhaps there's a memo somewhere I missed. Sybil surviving doesn't affect the story a whole lot, so it being a kind of obscure secret is fine by me. Something I wanted to do with this replay is revisit Silent Hill, but try and see if I could piece together the story without drawing on any knowledge I have about Silent Hill outside of this playthrough. I think for some people it might be too easy to go back to SH1 and fill in the gaps with information they've garnered over the years from future works in the franchise or other fans, but truth be told, figuring out what happened in Silent Hill without referring to fan wikis, the sequels, or interviews written around the game's release is quite the task. A lot of crucial info is found in notes and memos scattered around rather than in cutscenes. Now this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Putting the onus on the player to figure things out in an abstract world is cathartic in and of itself in a lot of cases, but sometimes it comes at the cost of a satisfying story in the moment to moment. When big things are happening and you're still sort of in the dark about some very basic stuff, it can deter from the excitement of the scene. Certain plot elements have vague answers if you dig deep, but when digging for obscure notes and such, you won't really know when to give up because it's hard to separate those semi-answerable queries from questions that have no real answer, like the exact inner workings of the force consuming the town, what happened to the people living there, and why the cast we see in the game is still around if nobody else is. Some things are harder to pass than others, and they just don't feel like they should be. Some things are pretty easy to infer. Dahlia seems to be trying to get Harry to dispel the monsters appearing everywhere to in turn weaken Alessa, who they're connected to, so she can take advantage and complete summoning her god with her. But someone like Kaufman's motivations can be harder to understand at all. He seems to be involved in the drug subplot, he has connections to the establishments dealing the stuff out, but as far as I know there's very little in the game to tie him to that stuff other than some serious inference on the player's part. The cult uses the town's drug for their rituals, a little memo about that being the only real weak tie the main plot has to the drug stuff. Kaufman does work at the hospital and therefore is involved in Alessa's care over the last 7 years, but his exact involvement in the cult staff is also hard to figure out. Seems he's on board with getting the god born, but then has a change of heart and exercises it at the end with a red liquid. Lisa's backstory can be pieced together in all fairness. A video explains she had to look after the incapacitated Alessa 7 years ago, a job she didn't really enjoy, and then on top of that she was addicted to drugs. But in the grand scheme of things, she's a serious bit player, and I guess that's fine. I guess she just got in an unfortunate situation and we get to see that explored a bit. The game just makes a bigger deal out of her than I was expecting when I added up all her payoffs. Again, a lot of stuff can be fun to figure out. Finding a child's storybook that both gives you a hint on the next boss's weak point, while also offering a hint to the fact that Alessa's subconscious may be conjuring up these creatures, is cool to discover, or finding out little info like Alessa was probably bullied in school through creative symbolism like a lone desk with crude insults on them in nowhere, is a great extra. But an important note like the one that describes Alessa being maimed and burnt by the boiler in her house, and that this happened the same day Harry and his wife found Cheryl, requiring loads of specific requirements to find in the PAL and Japanese version of the games, seems like far too much cryptic work for such a crucial basic part of the story, and it being absent entirely in the North American version is just a bit dumb. I don't know what happened there. Not everything needs an answer, but I think how cryptic Silent Hill needed to be mysterious was perhaps taken a bit too far and hurts the overall story at times. In fairness, at this stage I've played so much of the Silent Hill series that it's hard for me to play this game and keep a blank mind, trying to forget what info I've garnered over the years about the story, to completely impartially judge how well it's told. Most of the raw emotion here works regardless though, and the novelty and originality of the premise being used for a video game will shine through either way, but at points I did wonder if some of those elongated sequences of characters wondering what's going on could have been better spent discussing more crucial info. That said, it's still very daring to be obtuse on purpose at a time when video games seem to be fumbling a lot of their stories, due to a lack of care and attention rather than due to a deliberate attempt to be mysterious and complex. If there's anything I can say to defend the bits that seem a bit too convoluted in Silent Hill, it's that I think it was all probably intentional and a definite attempt to mix things up. They perhaps just went a bit too far in a few places. Summing up a game like Silent Hill now in just a few sentences to conclude things is probably the hardest part of this analysis to write. It takes influence from many different horror works before it, both game and non-game, but as a playable experience it all manages to merge into something very compelling. Silent Hill's level of detail and quality of artistry is just a step above for PS1, especially for a 3D game that doesn't use pre-rendered images for its environments. But apart from all that, Silent Hill is uniquely positioned to take advantage of both the power of the PlayStation 1 and its restrictions. Sure, everything is dense with detail and animations are super intricate. When it comes to non-fantastical elements, Silent Hill is above a lot of its PS1 peers that sometimes required the player to fill in some blanks themselves thanks to their visual simplicity. However, assets here that are kinda hard to figure out work fine too, because most of the confusing stuff like that is the disturbing imagery that you're supposed to be creeped out by due to its messed up, abstract otherworldliness. The PS1's limitations are used in tandem with the horror of the game to unsettle, and it's one of the many reasons I'd never want to see Silent Hill 1 remade today. Higher poly count isn't going to make this
yeah, about
spookier.
that.
If anything, it would probably detract from things. Visually, Silent Hill accomplishes all its goals and creates a world I think everyone should experience, and while it could maybe do with running a little better, its style is extremely captivating. Add to that daring camera styles, great unconventional soundtracks, satisfying puzzles and environments to conquer, and a story with some amazingly directed
So anyway, I
moments
started
and some
blasting.
extra and admittedly cool at times details about the world and characters to discover under the surface, and it's no surprise that Silent Hill came across as such a monumental title at the time, and today I still manage to get the same impact playing it. The only way I see it alienating people now is some of the obtuseness coming across as some goofy 90s misstep, rather than the calculated, albeit perhaps overzealous move it was to make things so confusing in some areas. But if you go into it with the knowledge that things are going to be a trip, you'll probably enjoy it anyway. Plus, even if stories being told this way aren't your thing, Silent Hill is still 100% one of the scariest games out there.
How about I bring this up because the company who made this game is the one that's been working on the Silent Hill remakes. I actually forgot they worked on the second one. Because when I heard they were working on the first one, I was like, oh no. But, I don't know, apparently people really like the remake of 2, so, you know, I think they've learned since this, but there's this part later, it got its own clip, but just a waste of time. I'll play the full 25 minutes.
Every portrait that is painted with feeling is a portrait of the artist, not a Siller. Orson Welles, picture of Dorian Gray. Every portrait that is painted with feeling is a portrait of the artist, not a Siller. Orson Welles, picture of Dorian Gray.
Stumbling all around, stumbling all around, stumbling all around, so funny.
You want a webcam? You guys want a fucking webcam? Huh? Is that what you're after? Is that what you're after? Are you after a webcam? Oh shit, it's too big. Yeah, there's a dog cam. Play the piano.
The French champagne has always been celebrated for its excellence.
Watch out for the baby. Watch out for the fucking baby.
Watch out for the fucking baby.
There's a baby. What is he holding? He's got baby hands too. This is a baby with a beard. I already know the. I already know the fucking ending.
Ah, the French.
Wait, is something in here I need?
Ah,
Like a notebook
the
or something?
French.
Hey, good
Champagne
job. You got
has
the
always been
loot.
Celebrated for its excellence.
Spruce! Welcome, Spruce. Welcome to the chicken hair. Welcome to the chicken hair clan. Everybody has to get their hair cut like this and look like a fucking turkey. Oh, this is a really good opening of the game.
Girl, what are you doing playing DRG
There
at
you go.
almost 2 in the morning my time?
I'm gonna have to paint something, I guess.
Oh, Top Dog is one that I really want for NG. That's like the engineer equivalent of Aqua Force for me. It's like black and red. I mean, he's got a lot of black and red skins, more so than Scout has black and blue, but it's particularly really pretty. Get out of here, you stupid bot. Oh, for fuck's sake, bro. Help me when you get a minute. God, I need to get a freaking USB splitter. It's on the way. It'll be here. Please hold on. The saws are on the way.
Okay.
And then maybe the next
smiling,
thing I
having
should
a
save
good
up for as far as work-related things is getting a new webcam. So I can have better angles for my traditional streams.
Thankfully, I finally have light. Now I can actually...
Guards, get his ass! Seize him!
Oh, 485. Oh, that's fucking... That's my uncle's chair. I can tell. 'Cause he used to shit his pants all the time. And he had real gross green and yellow shit. It was disgusting. We put him in a home. Holy shit.
Jerma, you talking so quiet. Speak up, boy.
Oh, classical art, man, jump scare. Classic. They got me. What a classic.
Ah, the French
Fucking hell.
champagne.
Oh no, the presidents. The hallway of presidents. Hey, scroll for Cleveland. Wait a second. Oh, who's it behind? That person behind that is freaking me out. I feel like I need to like squint and look at these. There's George Washington. I know that one. Don't throw things at me.
Now, a tiny bit to the left. Yes, just like that. Hold that pose. I want to get all those lovely curves just right.
What the fuck? I want to get all those lovely curves.
Ah, the
Jesus. First step is the hardest. Okay. Oh, food. Oh, nice. Carrots, potatoes, beets. I just pressed a button. I didn't mean to do that. Where's a gun? Give me a gun. Where's this guy's gun? Where are these falling from? Is it a rat? What the fuck is going on right now?
Got so lucky the drop pod was like 12 meters. Good job.
Ah, the French. Champagne
It
has
scared
always
me.
been celebrated for its excellence.
Poltergeist. Thanks for
So
7, dude.
I used a razor, in fact, and then carefully flayed the skin.
That's a piece of skin.
Booze helped keep my hands steady.
I'm really curious if
Da
there's
Vinci? Didn't Da Vinci
a
do
good
that?
Escape from Bug Island
Who
video
did
out
that?
there.
Who cut their like ear off and ate it? Did he eat it? Somebody cut off their ear and like ate it, and then like pissed in another guy's face. Who was that? Was it Da Vinci? It's creepy nonetheless.
Jerma, what the fuck? Yeah, anyway, what I was gonna say before he just
Rats.
went crazy, I'll look after this.
Oh, I
See what I
putting
can
that
find.
piece of skin on here.
There's one more mission about that ship for tomorrow.
I'm
What are you
thinking of
doing?
Van Gogh and Mike Tyson. Well, it was one of them. Did Mike Tyson ever paint? I don't want to be on an elevator right now. I want to be getting feared in layers of fear.
Core hunt?
I want to be able to understand the storyline and have somebody yell at me and then have me go, whoa, whoops-a-daisy, and clench up and flinch up. Like these games, get me out of here.
Yeah, I gotta get
Fuck outta my way.
those
Let's go. I'm unraveling the story right now.
cores.
Alright. You divorced 2 years ago. She took a piece of your skin and she left it on the fucking countertop and you... Okay, none of the doors work, so that means when I turn around there's gonna be something behind me. It's gonna be the person that we just saw. Nope. Ugh. Now that's creepy. See, I told you it was Abraham Lincoln. Look, he's got the top hat, the beard. The dead person that he murdered somebody apparently. This fucking baby in the goddamn cabinet. Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck is this thing? What are you? Oh my god. I'm gonna have a nightmare of that thing tonight. Literally tonight, that thing's gonna be in my dream, and it's gonna be, I'm gonna be that person that's eating. I hear a dog.
Hey,
like
Crispy.
Okay, that's
Hope
actually
you're
kinda
doing well.
I really just don't want to turn around. I don't.
Last one is salvage you'll do
really
before or
don't
after
care.
stream. Ah, yeah. I'm alright. Sleepy, but I'm alright. How are
I
you?
knew it! I fucking knew it! I knew it! I knew it! I told you guys! I told you I was gonna...
Throat's killing you. I'm sorry.
Rats. If you told me, Jerma, I'll pay you
Rats.
$500,000 a year to live here, I'd tell you to stick it up your ass. I get to put the blood on the painting, right? That's how it works.
Ooh, double XP.
That just made that even worse. Jerma, you just don't understand art. No, I understand art. See, watch. See, look at this.
But usually I think they make double XP harder. Like they really make you work for it. That's what it feels like. Allergies, about to grab a water and chill in my bed. That sounds good.
Maybe I need to kick some artistic sense in your stupid face.
Did you just call somebody a pleb? He just called somebody a pleb.
Yeah, allergies are getting me
pleb.
too. I'm sorry.
Alrighty. I thought that was like internet speak. Restless memories. Oh, restless memories. Oh, that's my favorite. It's PT. It's fucking PT. It's PT. The same things are happening that happen inside of PT. I'm not even closing these doors. I'm just slamming. Hope is the mind killer. No. Drugs are the mind killer.
Sickest snipe of your life.
Oh, look,
Nice.
an empty room. What if there's gonna be a baby somewhere that's gonna jump out and score? Oh, brick wall. Oh, hold on. Watch out for the brick wall. Watch out for the baby that's in one of these. Watch it. Here comes the baby.
I needed to remove the flesh from the bone. At first, I was lost as to how, but then I sawed it off with a hand saw.
3 mollies in the glacial zone. Hell no. Okay, fine.
In a mortar.
That's fair.
Obviously, this was not something I'd done before. Finally, I mixed the dust with some white paint. It made for a lovely undercoat.
I ain't swallowing that shit. You could open the lobby up to the public.
You know what we do to people like that? We send them away. We give them the electric chair.
No.
Murderers, serial killers. We send them to the jail. And then they get electrocuted in the electric chair. But apparently he's just painting with people's bodies and cutting people up. Oh shit, Teddy Ruxpin.
My
I
XP.
always hated Teddy
You
Ruxpin.
share the XP.
I want to be scared. Hey, I see a sun in the corner, guys. Take a look at that sun. Not even the real sun. We all know what the real sun looks like. Right? I mean, you kind of have to walk down here.
Only for me and my friends. Fine. Okay. I know you're streaming, but I clipped it and just sent it to you. Alright, hold on. Funny. Oh, it's fine. I got hotkeys. No one gonna see nothing. Actually, I was messing around in Discord settings, and there's a setting where you can actually, make it so Discord windows don't show up in, OBS. About to test that theory. Yeah, it's just not there. So that's super handy. Is my... Okay, yeah, my audio's fine.
Surprise! It's impossible to feel scared. It's scary. This is a scary game.
If you share specific windows too.
Watch.
Yeah, but
The
that's a
baby's
lot of
gonna come out and be like,
setup.
In like 2 seconds and scare me. What? I told you! I knew it! I called it!
Go ahead, leak my DMs, I don't care.
Don't do it. Okay, where's the exit?
I really need to make this thicker. How I do it, I don't trust showing my live desktop.
Damn. Stop! What the... What direction am I even facing anymore?
Oh god, here it comes.
Oh, we're gonna keep doing this. I'll do this all day. I'm gonna come here. Hold on. Come on, you gotta take a bath. I know. I didn't like taking baths when I was a kid either. Alright, fine. Just know that tomorrow morning before school, you're gonna be mad because you didn't take a bath. What the Why? Why?
How Jeremiah got younger over the years, I don't know.
It's supposed to be a scary game.
Drop your skincare routine, boy.
I need to like stop the stream for a second. That kid just ran right into the fucking wall. Oh. I did not expect that to happen. Is that gonna happen again? I swear to God if that happens again. Oh my God, hold on a second, hold on. Wait a second, wait a minute. Wait a minute. It's gonna happen again?
Ah, the French champagne has always been celebrated for its excellence.
I can't do it. I can't take it. Ugh.
Damn, you're scout level 19. That's crazy.
Who just subscribed? It was even better the second time. I don't even know who subbed. Hold on. Hold on a second. Hold on a minute.
He's dying.
Comactically. Comactically. Thanks for subbing, dude. Oh. How did I do that again? No shit, go back. I want to do it again.
Oh my God.
I think I'm gonna die on camera. I think I'm gonna die on camera.
Now it just sounds like he's crying because he's upset.
I broke my fucking laugh bone. I can't do it. I can't even laugh at it anymore. I can't even fucking think. I gotta get like 5 to come out at the same time. I feel like the asset is loading right here. You know what I mean? I'll get it. I can't even fucking imagine why you would have to do this. I can't even process why you would have that. A scary game. Alright, we gotta go. We gotta move on. We gotta go. We have to move on. I can't do it anymore. Watch out for the black goo. Don't touch the black goo. Don't touch it. I told you not to touch it. I told you.
It's fine to merge it down.
What the fuck is going on? Watch out for the jack in the box. Watch out for the jack in the box. Watch out. Oh, this is the baby again. There's the baby again. I wonder if it's gonna like get slammed in the window. It kind of is happening a little bit. Hush, little baby, the night is stark. What the hell is that? Stars fade above you, the room goes dark. Mama used to come to tuck you in. Oh!
At that point, I hesitated. Will this really work? Fuck it. I was already halfway through, and besides, it's not like I can just...
Oh! That was just rude. That was uncalled for and rude. Why did I do that? That was rude. What's the painting of?
Oh my god, it was the Hell's Kitchen sound effect!
It's a person. Oh, that's like a tour of, that's a tour of Italy or something. No, they're fishing a dead person out. They're fishing a dead person out of the water. That's not a tour of Italy. Oh, where's he going? Oh, he's crazy. He's knocking the floor out of fucking... This rat just trashed the place. he just fucking trashed the place.
Hickory dickory dock. The mouse ran up the clock. The clock struck one. The horde ran down. Hickory dickory dock.
Am I Vincent Price? No, there's the senator baby. All praise the senator baby.
Okay, 5 minutes left.
What the fuck? Oh, Jesus. Oh, look at that. Uh-oh. It's a George Washington baby. Look out. Oh, what's over yonder? Ah, thanks for... I got a finger. Let's see, we're almost there. Oh. This is a painting of someone. Oh shit, it's Nosferatu. Oh, wow! Look at the rat. He's got a mean rat.
Take a drink every time he says rat in this video. Look, look at that rat.
Oh. Oh, wow. Look at the rat. He's got a mean rat.
You'll drown. Derma is the rat guy. Of course, he like picks up on these things.
We're doing a seance. The lady's gonna grab me again. Oh my god! Who burnt the toast? Who burnt the fucking toast? I tell you, this is just getting fucking stupid. Getting real sick and fucking tired of doing this shit. Oh, like magic. Yes, that's when we let it go. Listen to this song, hold on. This is important. This is like somebody singing in the shower.
You learned something insane about possums a while back?
God damn it, you clogged the toilet again. What'd I tell you, honey? You're not supposed to put apples in the toilet. Don't you know? What are you, fucking stupid? Let's finish it. Finish the painting. Let's go. Finish it.
Yes, that's it. It's beautiful. Perfect. Just like I always imagined.
Oh no, the painting's coming to life.
What is this? I don't understand.
That's so...
No. Stop it. Please.
That's not the whites of their eyes. Oh no.
So close. This time, I almost had it.
Oh, I ruined it. Wait, where's his finger? Didn't he cut his finger off? Don't tell me I'm gonna take this into the bathtub. And we're gonna hold our breath underneath. How many paintings has this guy done? Okay, for a second, I'm not gonna lie, for 1 second, I thought that was a picture of Donald Trump. I glanced over and was like, oh, it's Donald Trump? No, it's just like a baby. These are all the pictures, these are all the paintings.
Morbidly obese possum that's literally fat storing in their eyes. Oh my
Didn't have
god.
any confidence in his own work. Oh, Jock, Jesus, Trump scare. Shit. It got me again. Hey, look, there's a dog.
Hey, look, there's a dog.
Hey. All right, good night, guys.
All right,
Welcome
let's
to the Love
see.
Factory.
I guess it would be we review, yeah. Possums aren't meant to be fat like rats. Yeah. I want people sharing fat ass possum with big eye whites, that's why they should be slim boys. Oh no. Brutal Moose did an episode of Bug Island? No way! Okay, well I know who to pick. I love Brutal Moose.
Come out for the Wii. Escape from Bug Island.
Okay,
He
why
played
is
it that much? Maybe it's because
I've not seen such bravery.
Okay, there we go.
it's hard for me to really grasp the idea that the Wii is an outdated console now. Maybe that's because it always kind of felt outdated, or maybe it's because I never really played it that much. Maybe it's because the Wii U's launch catalog didn't really interest me. Whatever the reason, I feel like I kind of missed out on what the Wii had to offer. So let's give it another chance and check out one of the biggest blockbuster games to come out for the Wii. Escape from Bug Island. Escape from Bug Island is a survival horror game that came out very early in the Wii's lifetime. In fact, it was a launch title in Japan where it sold almost 2,000 copies on launch day. That's actually kind of sad. But can you blame people for not giving it a shot? I mean, the game is called Escape from Bug Island. That name alone is like off, but for people. The opening cinematic shows off the game's main characters. There's the androgynous blonde guy, the guy who got lost on his way to the set of Happy Days, and girl. There are also numerous shots of an island and, you guessed it, bugs. So the first question I have is, why are these 3 people on an island with enormous bugs in the first place? Unfortunately, the intro doesn't tell us. In fact, all it really does is show us how incredibly awkward these people are.
Well, it's not exactly my idea of paradise. What do you think, Ray?
Huh?
Did you say something about Michelle? Dramatic storytelling at its finest. Even though animated cutscenes were obviously an option for the developers, they only last a couple of minutes before text-based dialogue takes over. I personally would have loved to hear the voice actors clumsily make their way through the poorly written dialogue, but I don't think I really missed out on all too much as far as the plot is concerned. Speaking of the plot, it's incredibly thin. Ray likes Michelle, Michelle likes Bugs, and Mike likes being a dick. The three of them get dropped off on Bug Island for reasons? You'd think that they would at least mention why they were here in the first place, but the majority of the intro is just Mike and Ray talking.
Wait a minute, this is just the plot for Jurassic Park. What the fuck? Oh no. That's funny. The love triangle and the girl is into nerdy shit that friggin' love rival is like iffy on. Like, I don't know about that.
Talking about Michelle, who is obviously the brains of this operation. Maybe the game manual will tell us why they're on the island. Oh, here we go. Ray is a freshman in college. Although he hasn't declared it yet, Ray has a big crush on his friend Michelle. He also loves to play baseball. Mike has been friends with Ray for a long time. A confident playboy, he's never hesitant to give Ray a hard time for being inexperienced in love. Michelle is a sophomore majoring in insect physiology. She has come to the island to work on a report for school. Let me get this straight. These three people are on an island inhabited by giant killer bugs because Michelle here needs to write a report for school. Not only that, but she is carrying a book that describes the entire island and the bugs on it. So what is the point in coming out here and risking your life in the first place? You're in college! By now you should know that textbook plus Wikipedia equals book report. And going to an island full of killer bugs with Fonzie and a guy too stupid to know not to wear shorts to fucking Bug Island equals death. You better get your shit together, Michelle, or you'll never become a famous insect physiologist like, these guys? Anyway, Mike tells Michelle that he loves her, then they wander off together. After waiting for a while, Ray gets worried and decides he should go looking for them. Finally, the game begins. Remember that cool gun that Mike was showing off? Wouldn't it be awesome to get to run around and shoot the shit out of some killer bugs? Well, too bad, because Ray's main weapons are Tree Branch and Rock. Can you contain your excitement? Being an early Wii game, Escape from Bug Island is eager to show off its futuristic motion controls. Swinging the Wiimote around for attacks is horrible, and the first-person aiming controls are incredibly difficult. But the worst part of the controls comes when bugs swarm you and you have to shake them off.
Oh yeah, that brings back memories.
Well, now that we have the controls down, it's time to venture off onto the island. Ray fights things like centipedes, crickets, and praying mantises. It's clear from the very opening stage of the game that Escape from Bug Island is not for the faint of heart. The combat is almost too intense. The entire game is presented in this really boring color palette of brown and green. There's nothing that brings any color to the game, and you're even encouraged to make it look even more bland by keeping your flashlight off, since it attracts less bugs. I can only assume that the abundance of fog and the encouragement to play in the dark is just an attempt to mask the horrible graphics. But it doesn't really help that much. From the very beginning, this game does its best to hold your hand like you're too stupid to play the game on your own. For an adventure game, there's really not much adventuring that goes on. For the most part, objectives come one at a time, and they will always flash obnoxiously on the minimap. You know, the more I think about it, the more I think that the game developers were actually trying to save the players from the horrible game they designed. Like they just wanted players to get it over with as quickly as possible. There's the low light and excessive fog, so the game is hard to see. The map is pretty much a GPS, which means you don't really have to explore the game very much, and most of the combat is optional. Usually it's possible to just run from point A to point B, and the enemies are just too slow to keep up. And really, unless killing bugs are part of the objective, there seems to be no point in killing them. They don't replenish health or anything. That job is left to items such as can of food. The only thing bugs drop are these little purple crystals, which must serve some kind of purpose, but I'm just not sure what that purpose is. By collecting purple fragments from defeated enemies, you could cause something good to happen.
What?
Throughout the game, Ray comes across a series of notes written by someone who had visited the island earlier. The purpose of these are to give you hints and tips, but they also chronicle this person's visit. These notes are probably my favorite part of the game, just because of how ridiculous they are. There's a body in the woods. At first, we thought it was a moose. Then we saw the skull, and it was definitely human. This accurately displays the intelligence of anyone who would willingly go to a place called Bug Island. Ray eventually figures out that his group is not the only one on the island. Lynn and Harry are also on the island, and apparently they live in this little shack. Harry claims that he left a secret weapon in a bag somewhere, and he sends you to go find it. Turns out that the secret weapon is insecticide, which makes a lot of sense, but it really isn't all that exciting. During the few minutes that Ray is gone, Lynn and Harry leave their little shack and end up getting chased down by bugs. And then... what the fuck? Donkey Kong comes right the fuck out of nowhere, and Lynn reacts with... feelings.
He's finally back to kick some tail.
Obviously, it becomes Ray's job to fight off the giant ape. A previous note let us know that hitting the monkey's face is how we're supposed to take it down, but that's easier said than done. The first-person controls are astonishingly bad, making aiming nearly impossible. Eventually, the ape gets freaked out by some...
That bug-loving guy from Danganronpa would love it there. The worst thing about this game that I remember is walking in the dark and then a roach flying at you from the ground. Like, you don't see it because it's laying flat on the ground until it starts flying at you. That shit is terrifying. Yeah, exactly. Who would have... Was anyone gonna guess that King Kong was in this game? Did anyone have giant ape on their bingo card for Bug Island enemies?
Bugs and runs off. Harry is dead, but Lynn managed to escape safely. I'm assuming that we'll run into her again later, but not before we run into some invisible walls. The game just continues to throw different enemies at Ray, and it's quite a while before anything relating to the story pops up again. Until then, the game is just a matter of navigating the map and occasionally fighting off some bugs. Every once in a while, Ray encounters an obstacle, such as a broken bridge, but all of these end up having a pretty simple solution. Finally, we get to see what Michelle and Mike have been up to. For some reason, even though they must have walked by killer praying mantises, giant monkeys, and yes, even mutant frogs, Mike and Michelle never considered just turning around and heading back to camp. Instead, they got themselves into this situation. Oh no! Hold on, Mike! Michelle will save you! Or not. Ray has to get past Donkey Kong again in order to save them. But much like the rest of the enemies in this game, the ape becomes something Ray can simply choose to ignore and walk around. By the time we get to the bridge, someone has already come by and dragged Michelle away, but they left Fonzie just hanging on for dear life as he holds on to the edge of the bridge. There's a cabin nearby, but Michelle is nowhere to be found. What Ray does encounter,
Wait a
though,
minute.
are what a note describes as...
Am I losing it, or was that...
There's a cabin nearby.
Okay, different screen.
But Michelle is nowhere to be found. What Ray does encounter, though, are what a note describes as Amazonian lizard women. Something tells me they should have just stuck with the bug motif, because these are just ridiculous. And how does one fight off an army of Amazonian lizard women? Why, by hitting them in the face with bags of sand, of course. Oh hey, look at that, Lynn is still alive. She's saved by Robert, who is presumably the same guy who dragged Michelle away and left Mike to die a horrible death. After some more wandering around, not to mention finding Machete, Ray comes across Lynn and Robert, who both promptly die. If my math is correct, that leaves just Ray and Michelle, so I feel like we're probably getting pretty close to the end. These enemies just keep getting more and more ridiculous. In a series of caves, I came across these convulsing dog trolls. I don't fucking know. Just like the rest of the enemies, there's really no point in sticking around to fight them. Michelle is still alive, it seems, and it looks like she finally found a place where she can get some rest.
Hello, Michelle. Why don't you come out and play? Mwahaha! You insect physiologists are so foolish. Now I will rape and or eat you. Come on, don't run away. Get over here. Just get over here. Come on, Michelle. God.
Apparently there are some strange temples on the island, and it's near one of these that Michelle and the monkey are at. Before saving her though, we gotta read this note that has the title of the game in it. Oh, you writers are just so clever. Oh no, the cave that Michelle ran into is being blocked by the ape. How will we ever get around? Oh yeah, okay. Finally, Ray is reunited with his awkward love, Michelle. Her excuse for this mess? Well, they plan to come back sooner. That's good enough for me. She babbles on about something called the Cave of Time, and Ray says what is on everybody's mind. He then offers to help Michelle walk, but she's like, oh no, I got this, let's go. This begins the absolute worst part of the game. Michelle is in no condition to walk, but she insists on doing so anyway. She takes a few steps towards you, then stops to rest. No matter how slow you go for her, she'll still only walk for a brief period of time. And even when she does move, just look at how slow she's going. Look at how long she stood in this one spot before she decided to move again. This is ridiculous. And all the while she's yelling at me like I'm an asshole for walking faster than her, even though I offered to help her in the goddamn first place. Finally, we reach the end of the cave, which Michelle likens to that of a black hole. I guess we can assume that this is the Cave of Time. Before we're able to get out of the cave though, some kind of tentacle monster grabs Michelle. I think we all know where this is going. Oh. Well, that's fine too. Ray gets bitch slapped and ends up falling down into the Cave of Time. When he wakes up, Ray is back at the campsite right before Mike and Michelle wander off. Now he can stop the two from leaving and they can live happily ever after. Or not. After all this crap, he just lets them go and says, this can't be happening again. So now I guess we're just supposed to play through the game again. I'm guessing that this time there's a way to save Mike and Michelle, and maybe even the other people on the island, but there's really no part of me that cares enough to find out. Well, there you have it. Escape from Bug Island. Bad controls, bad story, bad just about everything. I have a feeling that none of you out there were considering buying this in the first place, but in case you were, don't.
Don't. Okay, what else do we got? What else? What else? What else? What else? Oh god, not facade. How about, since we're on Wii horror games, hey, Nitro Red, this was fun. All right.
It's not uncommon for video games to be based on a movie, but it's not really that often to see one done for a horror game. For some reason, in 2009, some company called Feel Plus Games decided to make a Wii game based on the Japanese horror film series Ju-On, more commonly known in the West for the 2004 American remake called The Grudge. The Japanese original, Ju-On The Grudge, was the third film in a series of low-budget indie horror films by director Takashi Shimizu. After the success of the first two, which were direct-to-DVD, the third film was released in theaters. It received mixed reviews, but did well in the box office and had since developed a cult following. The plot follows a woman who moves into a cursed home and has to deal with the ghost of a long-haired Japanese girl and a little boy. What made the film so iconic was a character Kayako, her long black hair, and the clicking moan she would do. The series would spawn countless sequels and remakes. I mean, they still make these movies today in both Japan and America. I remember watching the American version years ago, and I didn't really think too much of it. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. You really don't hear too much about the series these days, at least not in North America. I think it's still pretty big in Japan, but I mean, the last American film was only quietly released on DVD with no actual theatrical release. However, if there's one piece of media in the series I did hear about when it was new, it was the Wii game, Ju-On the Grudge Haunted House Simulator. In a 2009
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting horror games on the Wii that nobody talks about. Whether they're good or not is, debatable. I just find them interesting. There's another one I think I want to look up after this called The Calling, which, really had my interest, and it was at a point in my life where, like, I was too scared to finish it. Watching it, that is. I didn't own it myself. So I wonder. I'm sure there's a review of that as well out there. Yeah, that was a very Norb way of saying it. Theatrical. Dang it.
issue of Famitsu, it was reported that Takashi Shimizu, the director of the films, was working on a Wii title called Feel. The game was revealed to be based on the Ju-On series and debuted at E3 the same year. The game was then released the following October in North America to extremely negative reviews. It was a commercial flop, selling very poorly and quickly faded into obscurity. It's since become a bit of a collector's item. The price typically fluctuates between $40 and $90 on eBay, depending on how many copies are available at one time.
You say 40 to 50, which it's funny, that was a lot back then, but I bet it's like crazy now. I'm curious. How much is it going for? 99.74. About $100. $200. Yep. That's how it always is. Yep. It's always the horror games.
The only thing keeping that price from skyrocketing is that GameStop still charges $35 for copies, if you can actually manage to find a location that has the game in stock. Once GameStop no longer sells Wii games, this one's gonna get pretty expensive. As a horror game enthusiast, I do like to give every little obscure game a shot, even if it ends up not being very good, so why don't we get started? The game begins with some live footage of somebody approaching the cursed house from the movie. Inside, they find the place has been trashed, and they see Kayako and spooky. This beginning video is very low budget. They probably could have just used something from one of the movies. It would have looked a lot better. Apparently, they actually went to the house they filmed the movie at so they can map it out and recreate it one for one in the game. So it wouldn't really surprise me if they just filmed this bit while they were there one day. Alright, so when you start up the game, it'll ask you to pick a gender and a zodiac sign. Weird, but okay. Here we go, the first level, a rundown factory. The story follows.
So it's like Whiplash. Quick, give me your zodiac sign. What game does that? I'm sorry, I keep pausing. I know. You guys are probably trying to listen.
Follows a young girl trying to find her dog, and she just ends up in this factory. Sweet and simple. So you'll use the Wii remote to aim the flashlight around, and you'll Oh, what? Apparently the game's not nunchuck compatible. That's so weird. How do I move then? It's not the D-pad. It's the B button. You hold the B button to move forward. Oh no, this already isn't very promising. Alright, so basically how it works, imagine a first-person game on Wii, like Metroid Prime 3 or something. You know, you aim to the sides to turn, which is fine, but imagine instead of using a stick to move, you can only hold the B button to move in the direction you're facing. That's it. You can't strafe or anything, it's just these wonky first-person motion-controlled tank controls. I find that turning can be really unresponsive too. I mean, sometimes I'll aim aim the remote to the left, then I just won't turn, or I'll turn really slowly. And I see people complain about motion controls all the time when they're really just doing it wrong, but believe me, I've played Wii games for years, and I'm really good at finding those sweet spots where things work and where they don't. You know, I actually realize I have to conform my actions to do what the game needs from me instead of expecting the opposite like I see many people do, but I can say with all certainty, the game is pretty unresponsive, and by extension, frustrating. I would often open the Wii home menu just to make sure the cursor's still on screen, and it is. There's no reason why it should stop moving me. I don't know why it does it. Something as simple as moving really shouldn't be this much of a chore. Anyway, there's really not much to the gameplay. You'll explore your environment, open doors or whatever, look for keys, and just find a way to the end of the level. Good lord, the walking speed in this game is something else. I don't know if I've ever played a game where you walk this slow. Holy. I mean, you're seeing this right. Yeah, no, this is just how fast you go. There's no sprint or run button. No, it's just this for the entire game. And I understand that things are definitely scarier if you take it at a slower pace. I think PT did that pretty well. You don't go crazy fast in that game either, but this speed? This is pushing it. They should have at least made it a little bit faster. As you play the level, you'll encounter Kayako and Toshio in a number of scares. I guess Haunted House Simulator is really the best way to describe this game. You walk around until you find a scary event you can watch. At first, I actually found the game to be kinda scary. The environment is super dark, only being illuminated by your flashlight, and the settings are pretty creepy. An old factory, hospital, you know. You'll hear that iconic clicking moan, and like the films,
hey, that's Gex 2 music.
I always say that anticipation is one of the most important elements of effective horror, and this game uses something iconic to achieve that. Until I played more, and then I realized that most of the game's scares are just jump scares. You know, a hand grabbing you when you open the door, or Toshio popping into frame. What was that? He just slides in like he's on a skateboard. It's so dumb. Whoa, what are you doing, you little kid? You're just jumping up in front of me. A lot of the game's scares are also really scripted, and they take control away from the player, making it feel more like a movie. It makes them so predictable. I mean, look, the player camera smoothly floats into position and focuses on something as if the game's like, hey, look right here. Yeah, you see that, huh? It literally tells you there's going to be a scare and points you at it. But like, then I know it's coming and it's not gonna be scary. I mean, it's cool to use sound design to build anticipation because then you still don't know when it's gonna happen, where it's gonna happen, or what's going to happen. But when you do it this way, you kinda know all of those things. I suppose this might be their way of making the scares happen on camera, making sure you don't miss them, but this on-rails method just makes them really predictable and not very effective.
An on-rail horror game.
There are some effective scares in this game, like when the game just put something there that wasn't there before, like in the apartment level. On your way back down the stairs, they spawn Toshio in front of the door. You might not even notice him until you get close. It's really subtle, and dang, it got me spooked. I really wish they did stuff like this more often instead of taking the camera and being like, ooh, look at me, I'm scary. It's just, no. There was also a point that I realized the only things I'm gonna see is one of these two ghosts, Toshio or Kayako. The game's not gonna get any scarier than that. Any other horror game would throw something new or unexpected your way, but when you focus the game around just two ghosts, well, you don't have much reason to expect the
leftover
unexpected.
wings.
Some encounters with Kayako will enter a motion control QuickTime event where you'll have to swing the Wii remote in the direction shown on screen. It's responsive enough, but I still found them incredibly frustrating just for the fact that the prompts are very sudden and expects you to react to them way too quickly.
I might get wings afterwards too. I'm so hungry.
You'll die, and your sorry butt gets sent to the beginning of the stage.
Sorry
and you'll have
butt.
to do everything all over again, which wouldn't be a huge deal if you
Bussin'.
didn't walk so slow. You'll be able to get back to where you were pretty easily because you know what to do already, but even just doing that takes forever just because of this walking speed. I really grew to dread these QuickTime events, and for the wrong reason. Not because I was scared, but because I was annoyed by the idea of losing 20 minutes of progress just because of crummy controls. That is, until I realized you can just violently spin around the controller and win every single one. Your flashlight only has so much battery power, and it runs out quickly, so you'll have to pick up more batteries as you go along. This is crucial to finishing a stage. You're gonna have to actively look for batteries if you want to stay alive. If the battery runs out, Kayako gets ya, and it's game over. You might think that this could create a feeling of panic, you know, oh no, my battery's running out, but it just felt really frustrating. The animation that plays when you die is exactly the same each time, so it's not going to be something that's going to scare you. You're just going to get really annoyed that you now have to do everything all over again. The game's got 4 main scenarios. The first is that rundown factory with the girl looking for her dog. The second is a girl who wakes up in an abandoned hospital. The third is a delivery dude mailing a package, and the fourth is a security guard patrolling an office building. It's really funny how they use the exact same character model for every character, like I'm supposed to believe a 50-year-old security dude is gonna have the exact same hands as a teenage girl. The goal of every level is to find your way to the end, collecting a series of keys to unlock different doors and essentially escape Kayako.
I mean, what's a skincare
everyone
routine?
ends with Kayako murdering your character anyway, so I don't even see what the point is in giving me a game over for dying 1 minute prior to when I'm supposed to die at the end. The game's progression never gets clever like Silent Hill does with keys. I mean, you might expect an item or something that you have to use as a key in a certain clever way,
Silent
but
Hill mentioned.
no, in this game it's just actual keys and never anything more interesting than that. There's a number of hidden items you can find in every level though, and if you can get every single one,
Plot twist,
you'll
it's
unlock
Jerma.
the hidden 5th stage, which is the house that the film takes place in. Getting the items isn't too much of a pain in the ass because you don't actually have to finish the level to keep them. If you find them all and then let Kayako kill you, you'll go back to the title screen with the items still in your inventory, which was nice. I'm glad the game didn't make me walk very slowly to the level's ending again, but it's still a tedious effort because you'll have to walk very slowly to find each item. The 5th stage really isn't worth it. It's not much scarier or any more interesting than the previous ones. I suppose if you're a fan of the films and wanted to explore the house yourself, yeah, I can see that being cool, but otherwise I really wouldn't bother trying to unlock it. Actually, I wouldn't really bother playing this game at all, to be honest. I really think Jew on the Grudge is one of the worst horror games I've ever played. I mean, there are a couple of decent scares in here, but those are mostly swept to the side in favor of these scripted and very predictable ones. Can you imagine if every time something scary happened, I took the camera and I was like, hey, look at that painting in the background, see that painting? And then the scare happened out of the painting and you weren't scared by it because I forcefully took your view and directed your focus towards it so you completely saw it coming. That's what this entire game is. It's not effective whatsoever. Even if they had the director of the actual movies on board, you can really tell he might know how to make a scary movie, but he does not know how to make a scary game. That is the problem with a film director directing a video game. They go into it with a cinema mindset. To them, if something scary happens on camera, it's going to scare people, but it's very different when it's a video game. Your scares have to be interactive. The player themselves have to be the one who stumble upon them. You can't take the camera and force the camera to look at them. It's just not going to work. The game totally lacks atmosphere and sound design. That's a super important thing, and this game just doesn't have it. I mean, listen right here. Tell me what you hear. Swings, swinging, yeah, but it's just the one sound effect looping. It sounds so mechanical, so fake. No chain swinging, no dangling, no wind blowing. There's no dynamic to the soundscape surrounding the swing set. It's just the exact same squeak.
Why he sound like TTG Robin if he was normal?
This tarp blowing in the wind? Yeah, exact same deal. Just the one bland sound looping again and again.
Sounds
What
like
about
Yoko
ambience?
Ono.
No, there's like
Hi,
none.
Lucario.
There's just silence. There's like no ambience at all. No creepy sound design whatsoever to make you feel on edge. The music's the exact same way. There's like 2 songs. It's like, oh, a spooky's gonna happen. Here's the spooky music. It's the same every time. It feels so copy and pasted. There's nothing organic about it whatsoever. Go into the school in Silent Hill and tell me what you hear.
The swing in case of stream lag. Oh, okay. Yeah, might be behind a little bit. Hey, Silent Hill 1 mentioned again.
There's also this secondary game mode called Courage Test. You know what it is? It's exactly the same as the main game, except you can't collect the hidden items. I guess the main point of it is to let a friend play because they can choose a different zodiac sign and gender while still playing the levels you've unlocked. When you either die or complete a stage, it gives you this stupid horoscope reading about how you react to things that are scary. I have no idea how it calculates it, but it's really not interesting enough to warrant caring about it. There was this one kinda cool idea regarding multiplayer though. When playing, at any time a friend can push a button on the Player 2 Wii Remote to trigger a scare, but they're all just jump scares and they're all really dumb. Boo! 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 Ah. Ooh. The game's just not very effective, nor is it very
Jump
fun
scare
either.
button.
The game's molasses pace just makes everything so boring. The game does have a couple of decent ideas, but overall it's all executed very poorly. The only reason I can think of that someone would want to play this game for is because they're a big fan of the source material and they can imagine that maybe exploring the actual cursed house themselves
You need one.
fun, but
Yeah.
A, it's not, and B, the lengths you have to go through to even unlock the house from the movie is way more than you should invest your time
God,
in.
what would I
So,
use for a
anyone
jump
out there
scare
that's a
for
fan
my
of the Ju-On series,
my new
do
sound
yourself a
alerts?
favor, just stick with the movies.
I mean, Werehog can be one depending on how loud the volume is, but... Oh hey, he did calling as well. Perfect. That's exactly what I was gonna look up next. Werehog ass. Yeah, we just going down all the Wii horror games of dubious quality, and then I think after this I will put on Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Jump scare sound idea, Superman 64. Oh no! Oh no, please.
You know, I never quite realized just how many horror games there really were on the Wii. I guess the idea of using the Wii Remote
I
as
know.
a flashlight really
Hey,
went a
Shattered
long
Memories.
way. Amongst these games was a first-person horror adventure game called Calling, where the gimmick is that the Wii Remote is your cell phone. You can see what they did there with the title, where the two L's in the I are supposed to be reception bars, which was kind of a nice touch, I guess. I see a lot of people mistitle this game as The Calling, but no, it's just Calling. I don't know why everyone puts the in front of it. Well, I
Yeah, I
guess
do that
The
too.
Calling
Oops.
does roll a little easier off the tongue, so that's probably why. Oh, dang, Hudson made this game. I had no idea. Rest in peace, good man. Guess I got bored of making Bomberman and decided to have a go at the horror genre. Alright, in this game, you use the Wii Remote as if it were a cell phone, even gives you a recommended volume level and everything. The gimmick of the game is that all of the cell phone audio comes out of the Wii Remote, and you're supposed to bring it to your ear to listen to it. However, the speakers in my Wii Remotes don't really work that well anymore, but luckily there's an option that just plays all of it out of the TV. It kinda loses the novelty, yeah, but I'm sure it would have gotten old fast anyway. The first thing we see is an exchange between several people in a chat room. The four of them read an article that by using this chat room called The Black Page, you'd be able to speak to the dead. They continue to discuss the mysterious deaths of several high school students, and before long, a mysterious user named Kuroneko joins. After a simple hello from her, everybody blacks out and wakes up in a strange otherworld. The tutorial stage has us controlling this dweebo kid named Shin Suzutani. The game plays like a typical first-person adventure game on the Wii, you know, using the cursor to aim and turn, and the joystick to move. Thank God. After playing Ju-On, you really grow to appreciate basic joystick controls on Wii. At first, I found the motion control to be way too sensitive, and with no option to change it, I just had to adjust to it. It wasn't too bad once I got the hang of it, but it sure did take a lot of adjusting. Coming to realize that all actions are controlled by the pointer
Literally
on screen
named Black
rather than
Cat.
actual motion really helped. Opening a door, for example, I just couldn't get it to work too well because at first I kept moving the controller in the motion to open a door, you know, like you'd think, but it turns out you just aim the pointer to either the right or the left to open and close it. Same thing goes for opening cupboards and drawers.
You know what's really funny? Back in the day I watched a Let's Play of this game because I couldn't really own it myself. And one of the scariest things about this game is completely unintentional. Sometimes your camera view will be inside the model of the character you're controlling. and it makes it look like it makes it look like a ghost jump scare. Like it'll come out of nowhere. This glitch, and honestly, that's scarier than a lot of other things that happen in this game. And it's like, oh, what the fuck is that? Because like when it glitches out, it looks like the ghost of a soldier, weirdly enough. But no, it's just like you're clipping into the model's head. It's just like, what the fuck? The eyeballs. Oh god, I don't know if this is a Wii horror game or not either. I forget what system it's on, but Michigan Report from Hell is another good one. I watched a full Let's Play of Joel going through that, and maybe there's a review on it somewhere. I hope this has been entertaining.
Man, you do a lot of that in this game. Not a fan of that at all. I think we need a name for this, you know, games where you have to look through way too many drawers and cupboards. I think games like Deus Ex and Resident Evil 7 really got it right. You know, you have to have some empty drawers or otherwise it's not believable, but that doesn't mean you have to have this many. I'm gonna call this Amnesia Syndrome, since that was the first game I really played that had this. But even that game didn't have it this bad. I mean, look at this room. It really just becomes tedious, and you have to check every single one because one of them does have a key item more or less all of the time, so you can't risk not looking through some of them and having missed something important. Just food for thought. Have less drawers and cupboards. Please. I mean, don't get me wrong, I completely understand that the feeling of rummaging through a room is greatly enhanced by mechanics like this, but there's a level where it's just too much. Anyway, now that I'm done complaining about something dumb, why don't we talk about something that's kinda neat? You'll use your cell phone for a wide variety of actions. Sometimes you'll use it to record the conversations of ghosts, giving you a little bit of story exposition, but you'll mostly use it for dialing different numbers. So essentially, these 4 people from the chat room were all transported to a purgatory-like dimension between life and the afterlife. They call this place the Mnemonic Abyss, though in the game they pronounce it Mnemonic, which I don't think is right. This world can be manipulated by using your cell phone. If you dial the number of another phone, you'll be teleported to that phone, dropping your old phone in the process. So the gameplay relies heavily around trying to find new phone numbers and in turn getting to new areas. Well, the later chapters do that anyway. The first half of the game mostly takes place in larger areas that you'll have to thoroughly explore. The main 2 are a school and a hospital, each one sporting multiple floors and many, many rooms to search. Keeping that Silent Hill tradition, most of the doors you just straight up can't go in. The game doesn't even make any excuses. There's just no button prompt when you approach most of them. They're easily distinguishable though, because these rooms aren't even marked on the map, so it's pretty easy to keep track of where you can and cannot go. One thing that really pissed me off about this game is that if you haven't found the flashlight yet, the game will not let you pick up most items. The game makes up this really stupid excuse, I can't see well enough to pick that up. What are you talking about? It's right there. I'm looking at it. I can see it. You can't tell me what I can and cannot see, dude. If you really have to be that dead set on not letting me pick these things up if I haven't got the flashlight yet, either A, make it actually dark in here, or B, pick a better excuse. The gameplay generally focuses on exploration,
maybe.
You know, walking around, investigating your surroundings, trying to find items or notes that'll advance the plot. A lot of the plot is told through these notes, which I'm not usually a fan of. I think it's a great idea to use reading material to enhance a plot, but when you make it where the core of the plot is, the game just gets really, really wordy. I know that doesn't bother a lot of people, but personally, it can be a little bit of a turnoff, especially if I don't find the plot that interesting. Not to say the game's plot isn't interesting though, it's honestly not half bad. The 4 people transported to the Mnemonic Abyss are Shin, a dweebo high school kid, Rin, a 21-year-old college student, Chiyo, an elderly woman hoping to talk to her deceased husband, and Makoto, an editor for an occult magazine who's searching for his partner who mysteriously passed away without explanation. You'll play as Shin for the first 10 minutes, and there's one chapter about Chiyo looking for her husband, but the bulk of the game is spent in Rin and Makoto's shoes. As you explore the area, you'll have many run-ins with ghosts. These encounters are really dumb. Getting attacked by ghosts just requires flailing the Wii Remote around to shake them off. It doesn't actually make too much sense to me, honestly. If ghosts are non-physical, how do you shake them off? I don't know. Either way, just flail the remote around violently and you'll be fine. If you can time it just right, you can also press the A button to escape the encounter immediately. Doing it this way seems to recover a little bit of health, or I guess the horror meter, as the game calls it. It's pretty self-explanatory. If it's in the green, you're good. Red, not so much. This is only something you really need to pay attention to if ghosts are actively pursuing you and will attack you multiple times. Otherwise, it just refills by itself. I can't really say encounters with the ghosts are particularly scary. It's so easy to break free of them that they just feel more like a hindrance than a real threat. That and their designs just aren't that scary at all. I mean, they're just kind of like blue school children that are kinda see-through. If you want some real spooky students, check out Silent Hill's Grey Children. Now, those things freak me out. These guys, on the other hand, not so much. But just because the ghosts aren't scary doesn't mean the game isn't scary at all. While I didn't find the ghosts scary, there were a couple of decent tricks in there. Like when walking upstairs, your character automatically goes up them as if it's a cutscene, but you're still able to aim the flashlight during it, giving the player just enough input that makes you realize that this event is still running in real time, and as such, doesn't necessarily mean it's entirely scripted. One that kind of got me a little bit was this girl who's standing on the steps who quickly vanishes. There's no sound, no announcement, she's just there and she's normally not. It's subtle and decently effective. The one that kept really getting me though is that sometimes when you unpause the game, there's a ghost in your face and it silently runs away. It's like borderline jump scare, yeah, but I'm willing to
Yeah, that. Okay, I guess it wasn't a glitch. That's funny that he brings it up, though, but I mean, it sure seems like a glitch. That is funny.
forgive it because A, it didn't actually pop up at me, and B, it doesn't make any noise. It's just kinda there when you return. Not a bad idea, honestly, and it didn't give me a heart attack either. Just a good little spook, and I do like that. The game does have some actual jump scares though, but they're surprisingly quiet. Something swooshing on by. They are kinda dumb, but at least they're not in-your-face obnoxious, you know? But yeah, anyway, the gameplay consists purely of exploring and thoroughly searching each room for items, notes, or anything you can use to advance the plot. This can get a tad tedious though, especially when you're in one of the larger areas like the school or the hospital. Of course, like I mentioned before, the map does make it easy to tell where you've explored and where you haven't, but even still, it can be really easy to miss things and end up walking in circles for half an hour, wondering what the hell to do. It's happened to me on multiple occasions just to find that, oh yeah, I did just miss a tiny object in a room that I previously explored. Because of this, I really think the game works best when you're exploring multiple small areas instead of one big one. When you're playing as Makoto halfway through the game, you'll frequently dial numbers to go to different small locations. Basically, the goal of each room is to find another number to dial. This is the part of the game I actually really liked. It's not overwhelming with too much space to explore, and instead, it gives it to you piece by piece, room by room, and sometimes there's puzzles where you have to go back to a previous room. For example, when you see this grudge-looking hair all over a door, you gotta figure out that you have to go back to the hair salon to find a pair of scissors, return, and use the scissors to cut the hair. The game actually does have some pretty good puzzles, stuff like decrypting numbers on a calendar to get a code, but in a way that makes sense given the context. The puzzles are very similar to the ones you find in Silent Hill, but with a greater element of real-world logic that makes them a little easier to get on the right track with. But between the cool puzzles and the fun rooms to solve, the game can really drag on with those larger areas. Whether you'll have the patience to sit through it, I guess really depends on how invested you find yourself in the story, which I do admit I enjoyed quite a bit. Except the English voice acting. It's really freaking bad. It's not even like funny bad. It's horrible.
I'm so glad to meet someone who isn't dead.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Shin Suzutani.
Oh my lord. Luckily you can change the voices to the original Japanese audio, which sounds much better. That is if you don't mind having your eyes glued to the bottom of the screen the whole game. Strangely enough, the game follows this really weird structure where it just gives you a bad ending halfway through the game, but then it restarts continuity and you start playing as Makoto, but then it offers to let you replay the chapters you already played. You can
Speedy
skip
dub of
them, but I
BBC
hear
still
there's
worse.
extra
Oh no.
content and secrets upon replaying them. So I did replay a couple, but I didn't find anything like that at all. But then again, I guess I already knew what to do, and I kind of sped through them. So if you do decide to replay these chapters, make sure you give the areas another thorough look instead of just running through them like I did. But yeah, that's the Calling. That's Calling. Even I'm making that mistake now. That's Calling for the Wii. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It's a fairly average game, but there are a handful of neat ideas, and it has a fairly decent story. As far as horror games go on the Wii, you can do a lot worse. You can do a lot worse. If you're interested, I'd say it's a fairly harmless investment. You know, it's not going to be the best horror game you ever play, but there's a couple of decent spooks in there, and you might really like the story, so it's at least got that much going for it. Come to think of it, now's a good time to get it too, because this used to be a rare game. This used to be pretty expensive online, but not too long ago they did a reprint of it, so it's a lot cheaper than it used to be on like...
Oh yeah, let's see about that. That's not what I... eBay. Okay, $60 isn't bad. 60, 70. It's still a little high, but... Why am I getting Call of Duty suggested? Get out of here. Fun bonus challenge. Seeing how much these games are currently.
Like eBay or whatever. In fact, when I bought this copy off eBay, it was still factory sealed. And this one's still factory sealed. I don't know why I bought two.
Fact checking they asses. Well, these did come out like years ago, so you know. The market fluctuates a lot. Like Piglet's Big Game. A game that people recently discovered is basically baby's first Silent Hill. And because of that meme going around, the price skyrocketed on an otherwise licensed game that most people wouldn't bat an eye at. But since the meme has died down, it's lowered in price recently. Which is good for me, because I kind of want it. I recently emulated it for myself to see if, to see how I would like it. And, yeah, I like it. I like it, actually. It's pretty good. I would like more baby's first horror games like that. I can only really think of two. That and the Luigi's Mansion series. Let's see. Let's see. Honestly, like, I kind of want to stream that at some point. It's like, it's half a meme, but also, genuinely, it does feel like they were trying to make, a Silent Hill game, but for babies. Because it really has that atmosphere and puzzle solving to it that is really intriguing. And they did that on purpose. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah. Silent Hill. Shattered Memories. Put on his Luigi's Mansion 1 video. Okay. Hey, he also did Shattered Memories. Perfect. I'll put that on after.
Fred, always special.
So here we are with Climax Studios' second attempt at making a Silent Hill game, Silent Hill Shattered Memories for the Wii. It came out late 2009, early 2010 outside of North America, and for some odd reason it was also ported to the PS2 and the PSP, but those versions are considered vastly inferior. And I also don't have them. Shattered Memories wasn't always going to be how it was, though. After finishing Silent Hill Origins, Climax Studios wanted to create another Silent Hill game on the PSP. However, higher-ups at Konami suggested that they make a spin-off title for the Wii. It would be a first-person shooter taking place in the Silent Hill universe that would take advantage of the Wii's motion control. Other franchises such as Dead Space and Resident Evil have also had first-person rail shooter spin-offs. It's possible that the success of the Resident Evil titles are what sparked the inspiration. The project was codenamed Brams PD, but the project never saw Konami's approval and was soon abandoned. However, some of the elements of this title did carry on over to Shattered Memories, such as the mechanics regarding psychologically profiling the player via sessions with a psychologist. Continuing with the ideas from Brams PD, they started what would become not a spin-off but a main entry in the series, still to be developed on the Wii. The game was originally titled Silent Hill Cold Heart, and it would feature a melee combat system similar to past games.
Oh, I like
addition
that
to
title.
That, an element of survival would also be implemented with a body temperature system. You would have to scour the world for food and clothing despite the harsh weather. The game being developed on Wii created high hopes for the franchise being introduced to a brand new demographic, though many of the game's ideas were then gradually scrapped in favor of making a game more focused on exploration. Perhaps it was because the Wii catered more to a casual audience, so they could have felt that making a hardcore survival game wouldn't really be the best idea. At first, Shattered Memories did star a cast of completely original characters, but as the plot was developed, it was then decided to not be a remake, but a reimagining of the first Silent Hill game. A brand new game with a brand new plot starring the classic cast of characters we already know and love. It kinda seems like Climax is a little bit too obsessed with continuing the legacy of the original game's story. I mean, they really like to stick way too close to the original game's plot. They did that with Silent Hill Origins, and you know, that game kinda became stale as all hell. Konami actually marketed the game as a brand new hardcore horror Silent Hill experience, and Climax Studios was very upset with that. They wanted to create a more casual experience for fans of psychological horror, and the way Konami was advertising it simply wasn't accurate. A more casual Silent Hill? That sounds kinda weird, but this would be the first Silent Hill game to take focus entirely away from combat, completely in favor of exploration in the story. That does sound kinda weird, but at the same time, it does have my attention. So this is your second chance, Climax. Let's see if your ambitions pay off this time. Okay, I have to mention that I love this game's title screen. It's a VHS tape of Harry and his daughter Cheryl. Each time you advance a menu, part of the tape will play and then pause again. The visual design of this title menu hits the VCR aesthetic so well, and for that I applaud it. I love this. And of course, again, there's no separate puzzle difficulty. Well, there's no difficulty setting at all for that matter. Really, that's no shock by now, and I honestly wasn't even hoping for it at this point anyway. The game's intro features that infamous car crash scene Harry and his daughter plunge themselves into, followed by a therapy session with Dr. Kaufman. The game jumps between two timelines, the present, where you're visiting the shrink, and the past, told through flashbacks triggered by Kaufman's questions. These therapy sessions are actually pretty neat.
I want you to know, this will be different.
Kaufman will have you take part in psychology tests, asking you questions. Oh yeah, man, you know it. How you perform during these sessions will impact your psychological profile.
There are 7 pictures of people on the table. Your job is to tell me who is dead and who is merely sleeping.
This profile is an invisible record of your personality gathered by the game through these tests.
All finished. Okay.
Depending on how this profile is manipulated, the plot, dialogue, and appearance of certain characters will change to match it. For example, Sybil can be kind with a laid-back appearance, or aggressive with a more professional appearance, or just sexualized depending on your psychological profile. It'll also affect the locations you visit. While looking for help, did Harry stop by the diner or did he stop by the bar? And even then, the locations themselves have a handful of variations. Was it a fairly regular-looking sports bar, or was it more so themed with romance and lingerie? That's really cool. I've never really heard of a game before that does that through mechanics regarding psychology. It's definitely not as in-depth or mind-bending enough to warrant that warning at the beginning, though. Seriously, guys, you really think your system's that good? Don't you guys think you're being a little bit, I don't know, pretentious with that one? So Kaufman explains that in order to make progress, we'd have to start from the very beginning, the car crash. We then flash back to Harry Mason waking up to find that his daughter, Cheryl, is missing.
Cheryl! Cheryl!
Now, with the press X to Jason joke becoming so popular when Heavy Rain came out, I'm surprised there never was a press A to Cheryl joke as well.
Cheryl? Cheryl? Sweetie?
In this game, Harry controls like he would in a typical third-person game, though you aim the flashlight with the Wii Remote, which actually feels really fluid.
Yeah, the horny route bothers me a little because just knowing those characters prior to the original game. But from a psychological standpoint, yeah, that's pretty cool. Fine. I just wish that the system actually worked half the time.
Fluent and responsive. You can zoom in the view with the B button, getting a better look at signs and posters and whatnot. The detail in this world is absolutely astounding for a Wii game, and it creates a genuinely immersive experience. There's never any pop-ups or dialogue boxes telling you what a sign or note said like in past games. In Shattered Memories, you literally just approach the sign and zoom in and read it like you would in real life. Harry will also sometimes comment on it. This is nothing new, as characters did this in past games, but now it's delivered simply with a spoken line of dialogue that doesn't pause the game with a line of text.
911. Phone's out.
The complete lack of a HUD or any on-screen messages make the gameplay very smooth flowing, and I really like that a lot. I'm still kind of astonished by the presentation. This is a Wii game, and it's running at a solid 60 FPS with highly detailed graphics and excellent looking character models. The game's voice acting is also pretty damn great, with a cast that consistently delivers their lines excellently.
For you, family is about physical affection and making your feelings known. You're giving me that look.
The character animation is also really good, but more importantly, it's consistently really good.
I'm looking for my daughter.
Remember in Homecoming where the game would sometimes have good animation and other times have really bad animation? It's not like that at all here. The animation and visuals of Shattered Memories are highly polished throughout the entire game. The music is great once again, being composed by Akira Yamaoka. It's really nice to see the series composer following the franchise still, despite the original development team being completely gone. The lighting effects do the job pretty well too. Being in total control of the flashlight, unlike in past games, this is pretty important, so it's good to see them get it right. The game does have its hiccups though. There seems to be a frame rate jitter every time you go through most of the doors, and this is very frequent, though I'd assume it's from the game loading each individual area, which I guess is how they managed the strong presentation on Wii, by having only small areas loaded one at a time. The frame rate also dips quite a bit during the chase scenes. It's definitely not enough to be annoying, but it's still worth pointing out. Sorry for drooling all over the game's presentation. I just kinda had really low expectations considering we're playing a Wii game here. That and the complete lack of quality control in the last two titles kinda really made me lower my guard. Shattered Memories controls very smoothly. It even has a quick turnaround button, hell yeah! One of my biggest gripes of Homecoming was the lack of a quick turnaround button, so it's awesome to see them added in this game. You can also look back over your shoulder, getting you a quick view of what's directly behind you. This is mostly used during the chase sequences, and these parts I'm not super fond of. It goes like this. The game's split into 3 different sections. Your sessions with the Shrink, the segments in which you'll freely explore your environment looking for a way to advance, and then the Otherworld segments in which you'll be chased around by monsters. There's a handful of moments where suddenly the world will shift, and just like Homecoming, we get to see a real transition, and again, it's really damn rad. I love that it's so different too. The whole world freezes solid instead of becoming that traditional rusted factory-like hell we've always seen before. It's kinda weird to see a Silent Hill game with a cool color grade instead of a warm one, but again, it is a nice change. Here you'll be chased around by monsters. You can't fight them because there's no fighting in this game whatsoever. Your only option is to run. I mentioned last year in my Silent Hill 1 video that just because you're running from something does not mean it's scary. I even used Silent Hill Shattered Memories as an example of this, and I still strongly stand by that. Silent Hill Shattered Memories chase sequences just aren't scary. There isn't a sense of panic-induced decision-making or planning to get around and past these things you desperately don't want to get anywhere near. Instead, they're always behind you, and as long as you don't turn around, you'll pretty much be fine. During these segments, you can also knock things over to slow down the monsters. There's also areas in which you can hide until the coast is clear, which I never really found helpful since they just find you again once you start running to the exit anyway. There's also flares you can pick up, giving you a good 20 seconds of invulnerability. As long as this thing's lit, the monsters aren't going to come anywhere near you. The goal of these sections is simply to get to the end, but finding the end is sometimes really tricky. These areas are very maze-like and it's easy to get lost. Locations can also look very samey, making it hard to navigate. This is why I don't like these sections. I find them frustrating, running around in circles until I happen to get lucky and find the end. These bits are also bogged down by jank motion controls. When monsters catch up to you, they'll latch on, making you have to swing the Wiimote around to shake them off. I find that it's only responsive half the time, and it makes navigating these sections all the more clunky. It doesn't amount to anything nearly as frustrating that Homecoming had me pulling my hair out for, but I still really wish they found a way to make these segments a lot less aimless and convoluted. These sections are always completely separated from the exploration gameplay, and because of this, the game has absolutely no hope of being scary. I mean, how are you going to be afraid of exploring the darkness if you know for a fact that there is nothing in the darkness? There's no sense of anticipation because there's nothing to anticipate. And this is Shattered Memories' greatest flaw. This is even alleviated with the implementation of completely useless game mechanics, like having total control over the speed at which a door opens and being able to peek inside with a flashlight to make sure the coast is clear before you advance. What's the point of doing this if you know the coast will always be clear? So that's 3 Silent Hill games in a row that aren't scary. That's disappointing. We're talking about Silent Hill. But I guess not all is lost. There are other things to enjoy here. Shattered Memories may not be a great horror game, but I personally consider it to be more of a psychological thriller. The way the plot twists and turns, making you question just what the hell is going on, it does a fantastic job of keeping the player trying to understand what the hell the world of Silent Hill is trying to tell us. A lot of this is communicated through messages your phone will pick up. Old conversations people had in the past being picked up by your cell phone. You learn about the struggles of teenagers in the world as they try to deal with things like harassment, sex, and stealing. Your phone gathers a lot of these memories, some in the shape of people literally frozen in place. Some of these phone calls come from Harry or his wife, and others seem completely unrelated. You'll also use the phone to solve a lot of the game's puzzles. Sometimes it involves listening to a message and using the info to solve a puzzle, or maybe you'll need to call a certain phone number in order to advance. A great example of this is an old conversation Harry had with his wife on the phone. In the background, you can hear Cheryl playing with a toy piano. If you type in the same notes you heard in the background of the phone call, you'll be able to advance. The puzzles get really damn clever in this game. Another one of my favorites involves trying to log into a computer, but it's password protected. You can click "I forgot my password," prompting personal questions to the computer's user. The answers to all of these questions can be found by exploring his office, his birthday, his favorite sport, etc, etc. It's really cool. A lot of the puzzles incorporate using the Wii Remote to open, push, pull, and pick up objects. While simple and brief, they're always a lot of fun to solve. Man, that new sound effect really makes you miss the old classic Silent Hill item getting jingle. You know, this one. This is the first and only Silent Hill game not to feature the classic sound effect. It almost seems like it shouldn't matter, but I can't help but to miss it. So while the horror and feeling of classic Silent Hill just isn't there anymore, the puzzle solving and exploration has never been better. I can easily say in that regard it definitely sets a new high for the franchise. Your cell phone has a handful of other functions as well. Using the camera, you can uncover silhouettes, digging up their memories by taking their picture. Doing so will reward you with a voice message, which always helps add to the town's backstory. You can also save the game and view the map from the cell phone, but of course the most prominent feature is using it to dial numbers. As you play through the game, you'll occasionally notice a phone number on a sign or billboard or something else of the like. There's a lot of little dialogue tracks you can listen to by calling these numbers, some of which are required to solve puzzles, and others are just bonus tracks that help enhance the game world's story.
Toluca Mall has ceased operations. Debtors and creditors of Toluca Mall Enterprises should contact the Hayes Bader Bank for details of the foreclosure and liquidation of the company.
And of course, what's the point of having a mechanic like this if you're not going to include some awesome Easter eggs too? If you dial the Konami help phone number, you get a pretty entertaining line of dialogue.
Thank you for calling Konami customer support. How may I assist you today? Hello? Hello? Our caller ID shows that you're calling from Silent Hill. I regret to inform you that you are beyond even our help.
The game is full of Easter eggs you can discover by exploring. Like, check this out, we got arcade cabinets of Gradius, Contra, and Russian Attack. I actually had that one on NES as a kid. I never could beat it. Across the game you can also find mementos, a bunch of items Harry remembers from his past. They don't unlock anything like bonus costumes, which is kinda disappointing, but at least they reinforce the elements of Harry's backstory. This game's plot is really interesting. Harry seems to run into occurrences that just get weirder and weirder. For example, returning to his home to look for Cheryl just to find a family living in his house.
What are you people doing in my house? Cheryl!
Easy there, this isn't your house.
He doesn't live there after all? Did he suffer amnesia in the crash, or is reality just twisting itself into new shapes like Silent Hill is known to do? Soon into the game you'll meet up with Sybil Bennett. She can look a variety of different ways depending on the status of your psychological profile, though my favorite of her designs is this one right here. It actually reminds me a lot of a certain policewoman from one of my favorite movies, oh don't ya know. Later on you'll meet Michelle, a young girl who went to Midwich High School. After telling her about Cheryl, she explains that one of her classmates was also named Cheryl Mason. She even has a picture of her. But Cheryl is 7, isn't she? Again, the game really makes you question what the hell is going on. I mean, it could be a number of things. Harry simply could have lost a lot more memory than he thought in the crash, or maybe the town of Silent Hill was trying to tell him something, teach him some sort of lesson he doesn't quite fully understand yet. This game's plot is so well thought out, with every voice message and text message enhancing the game's backstory so much, and it all comes together extremely well with an awesome plot twist. And now I'm about to talk about said plot twist. If you haven't played the game and you don't want the story spoiled for you, I highly recommend you skip to this timestamp right here. Okay? Good?
I will spare you the spoilers.
Light off red. Halloween special.
Man, here's one that really brings me back. Luigi's Mansion was one of the first GameCube games I ever got to see. It wasn't one of the first ones I ever owned, but I do have a lot of fond memories with this one. I've beaten the damn thing next to a dozen times over the years. I remember there was a time when it seemed not a lot of people really liked this game. I guess it was this weird offshoot launch title that really only existed to demonstrate the GameCube's hardware. Then it was kind of fleshed out into a full game about Mario's brother Luigi. You know, just to mull us over until the actual Mario game, Mario Sunshine, would finally launch about half a year down the road. But whether people loved or hated this game, it left a strangely large impact on the Mario series. In fact, it's probably the only Mario spin-off title that has directly influenced the main Mario series. There's something here that's not in Mario Golf or Mario Tennis or Mario Kart. Instead of a big get-together with all of your favorite Mario characters, Luigi's Mansion is this weird character study of a game, grounded in a genre that nobody really thought a Mario game, let alone a Nintendo game, would ever be suited for. Survival horror. Well, kinda. Okay, not really. It's an action-adventure game in a spooky mansion. Does that make it a horror game? Absolutely not. It's the gameplay and game mechanics that define the genre, not just simply the aesthetics, but either way, we're looking at spooky Nintendo games this year, so we gotta look at Luigi's Mansion. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I haven't played this game in quite a while, but this is one of those games, one of those very few games that my friends and I will bring up every now and then, and we always remember these little details that even still we find really cool and impressive. So, yeah, I guess if anybody on the planet's gonna make you appreciate the frick out of this game, it's gonna be me, so let's do it. The game really cuts to the chase with it opening to Luigi approaching the mansion already. Look at this dumbass, he's so scared. He's even got a map to the place, that's cute. I really like these birds a lot, I don't know why. They were modeled just for this one shot. You never see them in the entire series again. That is, unless these are the same birds, I don't know. Once inside, Luigi encounters a ghost and he's like, oh, I guess this is a haunted mansion. He then meets Professor Egad, a scientist and ghost expert who's trying to recapture all of the ghosts that have escaped his laboratory. Luigi and Egad deduce that King Boo was the one behind both releasing the ghosts and for tricking Luigi. See, Luigi thought he won this mansion in a contest. He didn't even enter the contest, he just got a phone call one day and he was like, mansion? Nice! So of course, he planned on meeting Mario there, who got kidnapped upon arrival, and now it's up to Luigi to use Egad's Poltergust 3000 to recapture the ghosts and save his brother. It's a Mario game, so yeah, duh, the plot's gonna be real simple, but even still, elements of this game's plot will carry on over to many other Mario games. Professor Egad is even directly mentioned in Mario Sunshine, and even he would go on to make appearances in tons and tons of Mario games to come. So yeah, Luigi's Mansion is an action-adventure game. There's a lot of exploration, and there's a lot of action sequences dealing with ghosts. You'll explore each room looking for the ghosts or a way to solve a puzzle. This could be as simple as blowing some candles out with your vacuum, or it could be something like figuring out you need to put water in the dog's dish and then defeat a skeleton so you can use a bone to distract the dog. You can interact with the environment by approaching an object and pressing the A button. This will get Luigi to knock on it or give it a light shake, opening it up and having an item or something like that pop out of it. A lot of this reveals coins and bills that'll tally to your score. A great chunk of this game is spent searching every room thoroughly, trying to find every bit of cash possible. And I think it's really smart in its design how it goes about this. Pretty much any object in the room can hold something, but there's this level of how much something needs to be shook, either by the vacuum or by grabbing, before it'll drop what it's holding. But there's this nice little dust effect that directly tells the player that the object has been searched. Like, that's it, just some dust falling off the object, that, you know, that's all it takes. Luigi's Mansion uses a lot of subtle cues to let the player know something. Another great example is this room. Yeah, you guys all know the one. You have to push this button up on the foreground wall before this mechanism will move the wall on the left. At first, when you come in here, it just looks like this empty, meaningless room, but there's a couple of things you'll notice that'll seamlessly steer you in the right direction. Firstly, our eyes are drawn to the corner of the wall because of this broom leaning against it. It's almost like an arrow pointing our eyes at the gears lodged in the corner of the room. We see that and we're like, okay, so there's something to do with this wall. And if you uncover this mirror, you can see what looks like a button on the front wall. So we go over and we're like, oh, you can push it, and yeah, there we go, that's what we gotta do. The whole game is just full of stuff like this. Nothing is always obvious, but there's these delicately placed nods, just the right amount of visual information in the perfect spots that'll have your brain connect those dots. And of course, the other major element of this game is collecting ghosts. Using the Poltergust 3000, Luigi will be able to suck up anything he encounters. This is done in conjunction with the flashlight. You can hold down the B button to keep the flashlight turned off, but then you can turn it on when it's directed at a ghost, and you'll stun them, and you'll be able to suck them up. During this phase, the ghost will try to get away, so you'll have to yank the control stick repeatedly in the opposite direction, trying to pull it in, almost like you're reeling in a fish or something. There's something oddly satisfying about this input, you know, slamming that stick over and over against the ghost's effort to escape. Every slam takes out another chunk of health, and when it gets to 0, that's when you suck them up. I find a lot of early GameCube games really nail this kind of game feel. Pikmin, That is another fantastic example, mashing that A button, adding more and more Pikmin to the fight, gradually making that health meter tick down like a clock at Dunkirk. This satisfying feeling of overwhelming your enemies, it comes with the mechanic being executed by a repeated button push, but each push actually achieving an individual action. It's not like Uncharted, you know, where you mash the button to open the door. Doesn't matter how fast you're mashing it, really, doesn't matter how many times you push it, it's just, okay, mash button, open door. It's not like that in Pikmin, because one button push is one Pikmin, so if you mash the button exactly 100 times, that's all 100 Pikmin in the fight. Luigi's Mansion is the same thing. One yank of the stick is one chunk of health. I really miss that kind of game feel where every button push felt like it was its own action, like there weren't any button pushes that were missing or didn't matter. It gives these games this direct and analog feeling, and it just feels really good. The sound effects are just as important too. Every rapid tick has this gratifying sounds that raises in pitch with every successful timed yank, like you're pulling him in further and further and further and further and... Got him. I always do this thing when I suck up a ghost that I violently rotate the stick right when he's reeling it in, so Luigi just violently rotates the vacuum's nozzle. I don't know why, it's just so funny, and I don't know why that happens, but I know I can't be the only one who does that every single time. Gotta be someone else here who does that, huh? Anyone? Now, while the gameplay is satisfying, it is pretty repetitive. You know, you interact with every random item in the room and you suck up the ghost. Those are pretty much the two things you're going to be doing over and over throughout this game, though I guess they do a decent job of keeping this moderately fresh though. There's a really good variety in ghost types. We've got like 8 main types before we start counting palette swaps and stuff. That's pretty good. We've got the standard ones, you know, orange, low health, don't really do much. There's the pink ones, a little bigger, a little slimmer, more health, packs a bigger punch. We've got the grabby guys, these bowling guys that hang from the ceiling. I love these banana dudes. What kind of bum-ass ghost is this? Eating these bananas and leaving the peels behind for Luigi to slip on. What is this cartoon malarkey, dude? I love it. I think my favorite one is the Shy Guy ghost. It's the closest we've ever come to officially seeing a Shy Guy without his mask on, and he looks cool. He's got those glowing eyes, I dig it. And of course, when it comes to ghosts in a Mario game, you gotta have boos, right? There's 50 total, and they're hidden all across the mansion. After a room is cleared and the lights come on, your radar will then tell you whether or not there's a boo in the room. You'll flush him out by, you know, browsing around, interacting with objects. You find the one that he's hiding in, then he comes out, and from there on, you can suck him up and add him to the collection. Sucking up boos is a little different, though. You don't lock them into this game of tug of war, but rather simply the gust of wind colliding with the boo will just lower his health. Instead of having to gank back on him, though, they'll be able to still freely move around the room, and this is a little annoying because the boo can still flee while you're draining its health, and they can even leave the room, too. For the boos with the greater amounts of health, it can potentially turn into this irritating game of cat and mouse. If they go into the wrong room, you can end up having to do a lot of backtracking, too. This is my biggest complaint about this game. It really doesn't happen often, but when it does, the pace goes from this to this. This is probably going to sound weird as hell, but progression in Luigi's Mansion is honestly kinda similar to that of a survival horror game. More notably like a Silent Hill level. You know, it's a large building that you're free to explore. You've got a map detailing every room you have and haven't been to yet, and you find a series of keys that'll allow you to progress further and further in the mansion. This was the first game I ever played that was like this, and honest to God, I think that's why I had such an easy time getting into the Silent Hill series, because I've already loved this style of game structure before as a kid, and I loved it again when I saw it fleshed out in those games. But, you know, of course, Luigi's Mansion really cuts that fat and makes it as simple as possible. Despite being in a large mansion, it's still quite linear. You've got all these doors to go in, but your map tells you exactly which ones are locked and which very few you can actually go in. Though, to its credit, I do love that you can actually visit every room room in the game, unlike a Silent Hill level where they'll make up excuses not to render every single room in the building. Every time you get a key, it tells you exactly what door to use it on, and while of course this formula is the ideal way to go about it for a game more targeted at kids, playing it as an adult, I couldn't help but to wish they just let you do rooms a little out of order more, you know? I mean, take this very first chapter for example. Generally to progress, you need to catch these boss-like ghosts called portrait ghosts. These are the ghosts that escape from Egad's lab. So you walk into the first hallway and you fight the dad ghost, and you get a key to another room where you fight the mom ghost, and you get a key to another room where you fight the baby ghost. The mom and dad aren't of any particularly escalating challenge, so honestly it wouldn't really matter which one you did first. I think the game would feel a lot more open if it let you do them in whatever order you wanted before fighting the baby. I think this could easily work for the entire game, you know, like Metroid, Samus Returns. That game simply requires you to have a certain amount of Metroids before passing on. Doesn't matter what order you got them in, right? So imagine if they did the same thing for Luigi's Mansion. Just give you the whole area at once and let you fight the chapter's main boss only after you've captured a certain number of portrait ghosts. Doesn't matter which ones or what order, just a certain number of them. I mean, that would work super well, especially considering that you already don't even have to get all of the portrait ghosts to advance. There's a handful you just straight up don't need to fight, and that's only because you don't need to beat them to leave to the next room. The strongman dude and the glutton guy, these are just two examples of several more, but you can just walk past them into the next room. Nothing is stopping you, and you might not even realize this, but for beating...
Oh my god, no. Stop.
These guys, you just get a chest full of money. Nothing you actually need to progress, so skip them if you want, it doesn't matter. This guy's working out.
What is happening?
Oh.
Okay, there we go.
When I was a kid, I imagined that when the mansion vanishes at the end of the game, these two guys that didn't get would just still be standing there eating and working out or whatever, and they look around, they're like, what? The actual fights with the portrait ghosts themselves are fairly simple, but there's always this extra layer to every single one that makes them really cool. There's usually some sort of simple puzzle you'll have to figure out, like the mother, for example. She's just invisible when you look at her, you can't interact with her whatsoever, so you gotta find out to use the vacuum to move the curtain to the right, creating a draft in the room that she'll get distracted by, and while she goes to pull it back, that's your chance to go and get her. While it's really not hard to figure out these things on your own, you're supposed to use this camera feature to analyze the ghost and briefly see what they're thinking. This is often a hint about how to beat them. But the most interesting part of this function is just scanning random objects and seeing what Luigi has to say about them. It turns this game into a character study, finally figuring out what's going on in this guy's head. Luigi goes from this age-old flat cartoon character to something so unexpectedly elaborate. I mean, like, I know a lot of these messages were probably pre-written and just kinda bound to multiple objects in the room, so it doesn't always make sense that he's saying that about certain objects, but even still, there's something quite fascinating about Luigi looking at a doll's head and saying, I've been wanting one of those for quite a while, and that being a real thing he actually thinks in a game that's considered canon to the series. This is the kind of thing I'd put in the bathroom. Luigi, you are a strange man, but what was he before this game? Combine every shred of personality Luigi has demonstrated in any games prior, and you get this plain character that only exists because Mario exists. But after Luigi's Mansion, he's no longer just player 2. Luigi's now this lovable coward on the verge of having a nervous breakdown, but determined enough to face his fears and save his brother. We really get to learn just how weird this man is, because for the very first time in Nintendo history, we simply get to hear what he thinks about the things around him. Everything from the game's writing to Luigi's physical behavior. I mean, listen to how he nervously hums along with the music while he explores. No matter where or when, we're always given this constant feed of Luigi's emotion through this genius combination of diegetic and non-diegetic sound to build the game's music. This is more of a filmmaking term, but diegetic sound is sound that's actually there, like a character playing a piano or something playing off of a radio. The characters in the scene can hear it because it actually exists within the world that these characters inhabit. Non-diegetic sound, on the other hand, is stuff that's not really there. You know, the score, the soundtrack. When you blast out of a launch star and that orchestra swings in, that's just for the players to hear. Mario can't hear any of that because there's not an actual orchestra there physically playing the Mario Galaxy music. But the music of Luigi's Mansion takes this brilliant approach that actually combines the two. We've got the non-diegetic instruments, you know, the cello, the strings, those heavy, deep notes slowly pushing us through each long, narrow hallway. And in conjunction with that, we have Luigi's nervous humming completing the song, and the game makes sure it feels organic. Luigi's actually humming because if you perform an action that makes him speak or grunt or use his mouth, he'll stop for a little bit. It's as if this iconic Luigi's Mansion theme song is simply an exaggeration of something Luigi illustrated within his head and then just hummed to himself to keep himself calm. This calming tune elaborated into something so harsh, representing what he's actually feeling instead of what he's trying to make himself feel. Luigi's Mansion may be a short, repetitive game with simple but satisfying gameplay, but it's all of the genius, carefully placed details like this that make the game so memorable. You know, this was a weird offshoot spin-off of the Mario series. I mean, different in that it wasn't a minigame collection or a racer. No, this was like a real adventure game, just a totally different genre than what we're used to seeing. It's easy to see why when this game was new, it was so easily brushed aside and not given much thought. When you look back on this game, you realize while the gameplay is very simple, as expected from a launch title, this game is so damn packed with charming stuff, so wonderfully illustrated on this bizarre canvas. I mean, like, look at the device you use to view the map and scan the area. It's a Game Boy. The Game Boy Horror. I mean, it could have just been a generic or original device, but hey, let's make it a freaking Game Boy. Why? Because it's more fun that way. What, were you like expecting this elaborate breakdown why it's a Game Boy and not like something else? No, sometimes it really is just that simple. And Nintendo understands simple better than anybody. While the game does look pretty dated, I mean, like, this is definitely not Luigi's most flattering character model, there's a lot of elements that still look really great. The ghosts, dude, first of all, like, just the way they're transparent, but they also have this odd glow. It really makes them feel like these otherworldly, strange beings instead of, you know, just a see-through version of enemies we've already seen before. Even the Boos, which were characters we've seen time and time again, now radiate this eerie glow, like they're finally in an environment where they can really shine. Literally, every single portrait ghost, they all have their own personalities, dialogue, strategies. Oh, I love the little blurbs you can read about every single one. I love how they made sure to say that Chansey was born as a ghost as if to avoid implying infant mortality in a Mario game. Dodged a bullet with that one, guys. Then again, Sue straight up says that she died in her sleep. Oh my lord, what was meant to be a short nap seems to have turned into eternal Oh my lord, that is... Wow. This is a Mario game. The game's got so many secrets under the hood too. Like, I remember never being able to figure out how the hell to get in this room when I was younger. Maybe it's just an unused square? I don't know. I must have beaten the game 5 times over without ever getting in that room. Wasn't until I was a little bit older that I found out you can access it through this hidden mouse hole in the butler's quarters. When I found that out, it was like finding out I won the lottery. Holy crap. Kinda too, because it's just a room full of money, so yeah. Oh, and like how you can take a picture of mirrors to warp back to the entrance. Yeah, a lot of people know that one already, but back then, it was one of those tricks that not everybody knew about. Oh yeah, and that little seed you can water by the dog's house, and you come back to it after beating every boss to water it some more until you get, like, all of this money. That was a huge one I never knew about as a kid. I always love how you can see Luigi's breath in a room with ghosts, because, you know, like, ghosts are supposed to make the room cold or whatever, so that's, like, a really cool detail. Speaking of cold rooms, there's no way I'm the only one who does this. Every time I replay this, I make sure I do that. Oh yeah, here's another one. Y'all probably know this by now, but this glitch about the lighting engine that makes it look like Luigi's shadow is hanging himself when he's on the phone. I always loved weird stuff like this. You know, a family-friendly game, but it's in a spooky setting, but there's always that one thing in there that's like actually a little unsettling. But I really don't think there's anything I love more about this game than just how organic everything feels. All the dust effects as you vacuum, the way the cloths and everything reacts to the gusts of wind with the like, it just feels so legit, you know? I could probably go on and on about all of the little details about this game, but that's what it's really all about, the little things, because this really isn't a huge game. If you know what to do, it can only be as long as 3 hours. It really is that short. And I guess that's probably why I was able to beat it so many times as a kid. Wow. It was never like one of my favorite games, but I do still really like it. You know, it is a little bit repetitive, yeah, but at least it's fun, and it's really good at hitting those quirky beats that Nintendo is just so good at doing. They weren't afraid to get a little bit weird this time and finally let everybody know, yeah, there's a little bit more to this strange green man than just being the brother of everyone's favorite plumber. Other games would attempt to further flesh out Luigi's character, but when you look back, Luigi owes his entire individuality to Luigi's Mansion. This was the first game that said, hey, he's more than just a player too. He's a character. He's his own person, and here's his own game. Luigi's Mansion had a huge influence on the overall series, too. I mean, for like a long time, it was kind of hard to find a Mario title that didn't have some reference to Luigi being a ghost hunter, or to the mansion itself. The Poltergust 3000 has since become a staple of Luigi's moveset, even landing in games like Mario Tennis and Smash Bros. Even in the main series Mario titles like Mario Galaxy and Mario 64 DS, Luigi continues to be associated with ghosts. Having this consistent theme to this previously flat-as-paper character has become one of my favorite motifs of the entire series. We did eventually finally get a great sequel to this game on the 3DS, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. I think they just called it Luigi's Mansion 2 in Europe. Was that I don't know. Anyway, I remember playing that game way back when it first came out, and yeah, I don't know, it was good, but something about it just didn't click with me the same way the original did. I do think it is a mechanically better game with much better game design and much more fleshed out gameplay, and it is a lot of fun, but I don't know, I felt like it was missing all of those little brilliant details, like the sound design, all of the weird dialogue you could read by scanning things in the environment. You never got to see what Luigi really thought about everything, and it didn't have the portrait ghosts, you know, all these ghosts with their own unique personalities and all these, I don't know, it just felt like this shrunken down, more vanilla version of Luigi's paranormal side job. But regardless, I think the original game is still really solid even today. It's definitely not like one of the best games on the console, but damn it, it is one of the most lovable and charming projects Nintendo's ever taken a risk with. If you're able to, I'd say give it a shot if you never have before. You may have never given this game a second thought in the past, but you may just be surprised at how interesting it can really be. But yeah, I guess that's it for the Halloween marathon this year. Thank you guys so much for watching all the Halloween specials I've been putting out for you guys. I hope you had a good time watching them. Yeah, I was definitely doing things a lot differently this year, you know, spanning 2 months instead of just one. I got a lot of comments, so many comments of people being like, you know, it's like September, right? Yes, I know, it's September. I'm just starting things a little bit early this year. But yeah, and then I was also not just sticking to one series, kind of all over the place, Evil Within, some Nintendo games. Yeah, it'll be a lot more focused next year. It might even be 3 months next year. I want to do both the Clock Tower series and Resident Evil. That could last 4 months, who knows? We'll see what happens next year. But yeah, as of now, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have yourselves a great night, but most importantly, y'all have yourselves a radical Halloween. Take care, guys.
Alright, I will play one more video and then probably call it for the night. Let me see. How long have we been going? About 4 hours. Yep, it seems about right. Alright. Alright, let's see. Germa played it, but it's an hour long. Wait, no, that's SCP. Why is that? I don't recognize any of these people. Oh, yeah, there's the Joel video. Alright. I guess we are gonna take a chance.
The term train wreck feels appropriate when discussing Michigan Report from Hell, one you can't help but look at. The PS2 saw many mid to low budget titles of different genres and scopes. Michigan is one of them. The idea of being a cameraman recording news reports on horror events is an interesting one. While this leads to minimal gameplay, it's everything else that makes Michigan such a fascinating title. It has some of the most over-the-top, cheesy voice acting around. There's one character in particular who's one of the most perplexing, fascinating characters I've come across in a game.
She always looked her best when she was smiling. Pamela. God damn it!
There's plenty here to piece together, yet much remains open-ended. Some due to the game itself, and some due to spotty localization. What you end up with is a game that's a glorious train wreck. One I had a blast going through. Michigan Report is a title you may have heard of before or seen clips of, for good reason. There's nothing quite like it.
Oh well, that monster's in heaven. I mean, hell.
That was amazing. I could get used to this feeling.
Few things to note about Michigan Report from Hell. This is a Grasshopper Manufacture title, Suda51's game studio. He didn't have much involvement with the title. He came out with the initial concept and served as a producer. He was busy working on Killer 7 during this time. In Michigan Report from Hell, we play the cameraman as part of a news crew. We work for Zaka TV. Depending on how we play, we'll have a different name and appearance that's revealed in the ending. We're always shooting. Standing stationary has a bit of camera sway. Running will have that choppy feel. Nothing that leads to motion sickness, at least for me. With us out in the field is our reporter and our boom operator. We're shooting scoops of what's happening out in these streets of Chicago. Why is it called Michigan Report from Hell? The Michigan is in reference to Lake Michigan. A strange fog now covers the city. I know what you're thinking. Lakes plus fog equals Silent Hill influence. Not exactly. It's about where it stops. The fog is creating monsters. Humans are turning into them.
Through the... Oh my god! Help me!
What are you doing? Run! Get away from there! Come on, quick! Let's get back to the news van!
We go through levels gathering footage for on-air broadcasting. We'll find many objects along the way to examine. We'll tag them for more info or get the reporter to look at them. For example, the reporter will pick up keys or open doors. We can't do that ourselves. Depending on how and what we shoot, we'll get 3 different types of points: scoop, erotic, and immoral. You'll get scoop points for finding useful clues or doing a good job for shooting a live report, having the reporter in frame like a proper news broadcast. For erotic points, you have to get a bit dirty. You might come across some porno mags in your excursions. I love the sound cue for these erotic objects.
Oh man, look at that.
I don't think that's going to help right now.
You've got a dirty mind, don't you?
The final kind of points are immoral points. You earn these by shooting objects like corpses. Another source comes from whether to stop shooting. These pop up about a handful of times throughout the game. Hit the triangle button to step in and help, else let it play out. They are a bit awkward, as you'll have a loading screen show up upon helping, breaking that flow. They make it out to be this big gameplay hook in the game's opening cutscene, but there's not much to it. It doesn't add much to the already bare bones gameplay. One of the few actions we could do beyond shooting is ramming. It's rare that you need to use it, like ramming an object to open up to see its contents, or ramming a reporter out of the way from danger.
Hey, what are you? Thank you. That was close.
Of course, the more optional uses are more enjoyable. If you're not on air or in conversation, you could ram your reporter and boom operator to your heart's content for some good laughs.
Ouch! You're such a jerk.
Yikes! Oh! What the hell are you doing?
Huh? Just my imagination?
Hey! How? You idiot!
Hey, what was that for?
There's one point where we walk across narrow platforms. It's unfortunate you can't ram them off to their death. I sure did try. There are a few combat encounters throughout. Monsters will attack us. You target them with your camera, which will get the reporter to shoot them with their gun in tow.
Get it!
Not bad, huh?
Yeah, baby! You did it!
In a way, it's somewhat like the game Lifeline, although that was with voice commands. That's about it when it comes to the gameplay of Michigan Report from Hell. Different, if minimal, and nothing too exciting. It's who we're with on our excursions that makes it such an amazing train wreck. Let's go through the various reporters who could join us along the way. Pamela Martell serves as the initial reporter during the tutorial. She doesn't last long before she dies.
Useless idiot! I've had it working with losers like you two.
Behind you!
I'm joining up with some other team. What? Just keep quiet.
Behind you! There's a
And stop thinking you can order me around. Huh?
That said, her death looms large throughout. One is a recurring monster, another in how her death impacts our boom operator. More on that in a bit. The reporter who joins after Pamela's death is Ann Anderson. She is no nonsense, with a reputation as a bit of a nice queen. She wants you to film no matter what.
We're a news team, aren't we? We've got to be prepared for things like this.
This woman's got ice in her veins. Unbelievable.
You two call yourselves Zaka TV crew? I would hardly even call you men.
Depending on how you play, she may be the only reporter you have for the rest of the game. For a good stretch while playing, I kept thinking about where I heard her voice from before. You know that anticipation of finding out who it is? Where you recognize a voice but you can't put a finger on it? This one took me by surprise. This voice actress has been another title known for its voice acting. Yes, she's the OG Rebecca Chambers from the first Resident Evil.
I'm Rebecca Chambers. I'm a newcomer. I just joined the Stars Bravo team last month. Well, I'm really sorry. Are you all right?
But these days, Club Gochi is a popular night spot with the hip young crowd.
Carly Reese is another possible reporter. She's the most compassionate and caring of the reporters.
We've all lost so many things. Chicago is in a horrible state of tragedy. We're here at St. Matthew's Church, but we've all but given up hope. Zaka TV viewers, this may be my last report. Carly Reese signing off.
Justine Rhodes may be a reporter during our playthrough. We'll come across her regardless of how we play, finding her tied up to a pool table in the senior home, a source for erotic points.
Hey, cameraman. Do you like this kind of stuff?
You pervert!
Paula Orton is the youngest reporter, one who isn't the best with her words and needs some more practice.
Our news team went to, Club Gochi and met with, Dr. O'Connor, a biotech researcher.
But there's something off about her. There's one level where we take a break in a hotel. What she says in her sleep is concerning.
God damn it. I'm gonna kill you.
The last reporter that's possible is Mark Bockwinkel. He's an older, more experienced reporter.
Good evening, viewers. This is Mark Bockwinkel. We're here at the Great Tezu Airport in an attempt to evacuate Chicago. As you can see, the airport, just like everything else, is blanketed by thick fog. Visibility is practically zero. Will the military transport be able to come? For now, let's move on to the control room.
Nina is an outlier. She doesn't serve as a reporter, but she also works for Zaka TV. We team up with her in only one level. We're not shooting footage with her, but holding up in a cabin.
All right! You did it!
Ah, that's nothing compared to that bear I killed one time.
Depending on how you play, your playthrough may have an assortment of reporters. Play well and you only have Pamela and Anne as the reporters. Reporters can die in combat encounters or in various scenarios. When they die, the level ends. Depending on what level you're on, you may skip ahead several. With that, you get another reporter. For example, Mark can only be a reporter during the final level. He's only accessible if all the other reporters have died along the way. This does give incentive for replayability, although it's not like the game differs to a great degree. The gameplay sure isn't a driver for it. The reports are more or less the same, with a bit of dialogue change depending who's the reporter. With the power of emulation, I was able to access a level select debug screen. This made it easier to jump around levels with different reporters. I also made use of save states to jump between past reporters living or dying. This game only offers one save slot. To those who went through the game trying to 100% the old-fashioned way, kudos to you for putting up with the repetition. Some of you may have noticed the surnames of the reporters. Martell, Anderson, Bockwinkel, Rhodes. Sorry, let's try that with a lisp. Rhodes. Orton. More or less every reporter, person, or location we come across is a reference to a wrestler. There's a director that goes by Mr. Henning, the Von Erich Library, the Gagne virus. The chief of Zaka TV is Deborah Flair. And as you've noticed, the voice acting is quite hammy. That's so much to the charm and fun of Michigan Report. But there's one character in particular that makes Michigan Report such a wonderful train wreck. The one who ties everything together. Without him, Michigan Report is more or less a rather unnoteworthy game. I'm talking about Jean-Philippe Briscoe.
Now, listen here, Chief.
The boom operator who is out with us in the field along with our reporter. Of all the oddball game characters out there, he's near the top. I love him, I hate him, I'm perplexed and amused by him. He's one fascinating individual. One element is this intense, passionate, undying love for Pamela, the first reporter. As mentioned, she has little screen time before getting killed, but his undying love for her remains. A love he never told her about.
Pamela was a fine reporter and a brave one. She threw herself into her work.
Yeah? Pamela was pretty brave, wasn't she?
I loved her. I was crazy about Pamela. Why did she have to? Damn it! I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye.
I haven't seen a man logging this much for a woman named Pamela since Borat. While these words were never spoken to her, she does serve as his muse. We can't come across his diary, where we can read one of his poems about Pamela. Let's get in the proper mood for this one. Oh, your beautiful eyes. I could melt into them, just like the cheese, on a deluxe burger. Oh, Pamela. Lovely Pamela. How very, very you are. Pamela. I'll never forget you. I loved you with all my heart. Like cappuccino at dawn, like hot dogs from a street vendor, like dragon roll sushi. That's how much I loved you, my love. Pamela, a true wordsmith. Then we have his reaction to the reporters' deaths, screaming their names followed by an oh my god. It cracks me up every single time. God bless this voice actor for going all out for it.
Justine! Justine! Oh my god! Nina! Oh my god!
There's also moments where we come across other co-workers' deaths where he shrugs it off. Guess he only really cares about the reporters.
God, it's a shame when a coworker dies. No matter who it is. But I guess we'd better be going.
Biggest scoop of my life.
Christian! Christian, wake up! No! You
He's already dead. Let's go.
If there's one moment you've likely seen of Michigan Report, it's this one with his delayed reaction scream.
What's a dead body doing in there? Hey, you. You better be getting this on tape.
He's also a bit of an art critic.
Art is expression. Expression, I say. Huh. A kid could paint a picture like that. Huh. What did they put this painting up for?
One of the funnier optional moments is filming him in the shower during the cabin level, and how he feels about it afterwards.
Yikes! What the hell? Are you filming me? Stop it! Stop! I can't believe you filmed me naked! I had no idea that's what you were into. But listen to me. Your personal tastes are your own affair. They're none of my business. Land of the free and all. You have your own lifestyle, and I respect that.
He's very expressive with his body language while talking. There's no one quite like Briscoe. He's the key reason why Michigan Report works.
Pamela. You're such a naughty girl.
I found an interesting connection that helps explain the voice work. As mentioned, the voice actress for Ann Anderson is the same voice actress for Rebecca in the original Resident Evil. She's also the voice director on that Resident Evil. Do you know who is the voice director on Michigan Report? She was. God bless this woman in her voice direction. I did check out the Japanese version of Michigan Report, and it's more straightforward.
皆さんこんばんは。アン・アンダーソンです。私は今、シカゴからの脱出路を求めて
He feels like Brock if he was put in a horror game.
Well here. Part of the game's train wreck is due to the Western localization. While it never got a US release, it did so in PAL regions. Something that Suda51 wasn't aware of until a few years after the game came out. So I've covered several notable moments with Briscoe and our reporters. Let's go through some of the many oddities throughout Michigan Report. Some levels are quick affairs. Small environments, a bit of investigative work, and then on to the next. Then you have levels with long stretches of dialogue. Some for exposition, others seem to stretch out the playtime. Like an early level where we hear a woman in distress. Briscoe and Ann don't seem to be in any rush to get to her.
But there are monsters! Don't worry. We're bringing a gun.
I can't take it anymore. Do something for me. Tell my mom and my dad I love them.
You're going to be fine. You hear me? What's your name?
Becky Wands.
That's a nice name.
That's a nice name.
It's a very nice name. I'm Ann Anderson.
This is one of those moments where we could hit triangle to put down our camera and help her. Showing that Ice Queen personality of hers, Ann isn't too fond of us helping her.
What's the matter with you two? What did you stop shooting for?
I can't believe you. There isn't anything left here to shoot. Everybody's dead. And it's too late to save Becky.
What are you talking about? Didn't you see what happened just now? It's a huge scoop.
There's a lot of the story that remains vague about what happened. There's a plane crash over Lake Michigan in which the virus spread afterward. There's a long exposition dump from a doctor about what the fog is and why it's turning people into monsters. Zaka TV, where we work, is part of a larger conglomerate, Zaka Group. In cooperation with the military and government, they've created a virus as a weapon. So we're into Resident Evil territory here with biological weapons.
The man who created the virus that turns people into monsters is now just about to turn into a monster himself. Why did this man ever create such a virus? And why is he allowing that virus to overpower his own body now?
Getting to this point, the story has one of the more comical segues I've come across. Before meeting this doctor, the area is pitch black. We need to get an infrared unit for our camera to see. Briscoe suggests going to a nearby junk shop to see if they have any infrared units. Lo and behold, this junk shop is carrying infrared units or cameras. What a bizarre coincidence. What an odd thing for a junk shop to carry. Between levels, we'll get a black screen, some text, and some voiceover for transition between levels. Obvious signs of being on a budget. It does help with the possible variations of reporters that could be present for that level. There's this one phone call we get that a reporter puts on speaker. They're able to understand, but to us, they sound like the teacher from Charlie Brown.
Okay. I see. All right, I see. In that case, we'll come get you. Where are you? Okay? Yes, I've got it.
What else do we have beyond these monsters? Various paranormal activities. Why? Who knows?
Huh? Oh, must be imagining things.
Throughout the game, we could find notes between two individuals, D and M. They know more about what's going on, but there's still plenty kept vague. Who are they? Is this a reference to their first letter of their first name or last? Something else altogether? Another one of the many mysteries. Which is something I dig about Michigan Report. We don't receive everything in one convenient package, despite large exposition dumps at points. There are videotapes that we could find that show more cryptic clips. By sheer luck, a YouTuber a few months back extracted all the cutscenes in high quality. This includes the 4 bonus scenes. Bless your timing. Of the 4 clips, 2 of them are quite noteworthy. Remember when I said something felt off about Paula? These confirm it.
How should I know about some connection between the government and Zaka Group? An affair between Roy Sanders and Deborah Flair? I don't even know who that guy is. How could I possibly say anything about it? Stage performances. Oh, what are you talking about? Of course not. The information about the new bioweapons was all true. Oh, damn.
Good.
But let's go through the rest of the game and the ending. Heading to the airport, we come across this perplexing man, the one I started the video with. He's one of those that's been experimented on in regards to the virus. He brings up the doctor we talked to earlier. And boy oh boy does he go over the top with his voice acting.
Look! Over there! Do you see that?
Here we go.
Come on! I'll race you!
In the final stretch, our reporter waits behind while we ascend a lighthouse to give a signal to an incoming plane for evac. We make our way up with Briscoe, but we're in for a surprise. And roll credits. Depending on our score, we'll get different endings. I like the changes in their appearance and name, like how the ending with high erotic score has our cameraman with a more perverted look.
Hey, what do you think about those sexy close-ups I shot? Bet that'll give the ratings a real shot in the arm.
4 different endings. In 3 of them, someone off-screen shoots us before we reveal the truth of who is behind what happened.
But the real horror is just about to begin. All of you watching this right now, I firmly believe you have the right to know the truth. That's...
In the ending with high immoral score, it seems we take credit for everything.
Look closely. It's me. It's me, see?
I've said this for several games I've covered on this channel, but there's nothing quite like Michigan Report from Hell, for several reasons. It's something Suda51 felt that they didn't have the experience for at the time, the idea that they'd want to revisit again, but how it stands is very much lightning in a bottle. Pulling off this kind of hammy voice acting is next to non-existent in this day and age. It's very much a lower budget title of the PS2 era, one that tried different things. Some experimentation could lead to amazing results. Some lead to something amazing buried underneath layers of junk. I don't want to say it's one of those so bad it's good titles. It's more a case of mishmash of ideas and approaches colliding with one another. A train wreck that you can't help yourself and look at. Yes, there are good stretches where there's not much of note. Some of the exposition dumps could have been spread over several conversations or chopped down, but when you have bits where Briscoe takes the spotlight, or things are hammed up beyond belief, there's nothing quite like it. You get sucked into this intriguing, bizarre world of oddballs and oddities. One in which I was happy to make a trip through. Do I recommend you taking the trip? I like to think this video does a good job of covering most of the highlights. But if you want to check it out for yourself, you have to be ready to get on the game's wavelength. Enjoy it for what it is, because
Get on the game's wavelength
soon. Thanks for watching.
Roasting over a campfire. All right, man. This is great. Not the usual boring work today. It's a secret photo shoot. Wow! Come to think of it, it's already been 5 years since I started doing this kind of work. I'm always standing behind the camera, holding up a mic, being sent here and there. A big fire over here, a big heist over there. I take my life into my hands and jump into all kinds of dangerous situations. Sometimes I barely escape by the skin of my teeth. But does my pay ever go up? No way! And look what they got me into this time.
Oh, Briscoe. You silly bitch. All right. That did nothing. What? Oh, I see. All right, 1 second. Oh. I mean, all I really have to line for this guy is the little circle in the middle, so I might as well do that really quick. All right, let's see here. Yep, that looks all right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, I should probably merge this down. There we go. Well, that was tonight's commission progress. I'm gonna eat and then probably play some DRG after. Because I don't imagine I'm gonna go to sleep anytime soon, unfortunately. Saturdays, as always, just doing commissions. I'm switching between 3 different ones right now. And it just kind of depends on which one I'm in the mood to work on that day. Depending on complexity and things. And Wednesday, I really want to paint my Mad Rat sculpture. I've been excited to do that like all week. Okay, let's see. How do I do this again? Nope, that's not it. Seeing if there's anyone we can raid. Nope, doesn't look like it. Well, that's okay. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm gonna head out. I will see you next time.